She's not to be your plaything. She's actually a valued person.
Trebuie să zic un bărbat asta? Singurul moment în care aș fi de acord cu acest argument e dacă ar mai fi un copil. Le place, bă, că le place căcatul ăsta cu Optimal, că le place să se joace cu cuvintele în felul ăsta, să zică yeah, that's the point. Yeah, yes, nu consider că există feminin sau nefeminin, consider că bărbații poate să poarte rochii și femeile poate să poarte rochii și fiecare poate să îmbrace cum vrea el. Jegă, pentru mine nu există așa ceva. Nu există.
It is important that parents honor their children's boundaries.
Sper că toată lumea o să fie de acord cu asta, deși dacă întrebi în România, începem în forță direct cu comentarii. Dacă întrebi în România, nu știu dacă toți părinții ar fi de acord cu asta, mai ales părinții din perioada mai comunistă și mai ales că există mentalitatea asta de nu că eu știu mai bine, de ce să îmi ascult copilul dacă el e copil și eu știu mai bine și nu știu ce, dacă ascunde ceva, dacă se droghează, dacă whatever. Te folosești de orice scuză posibilă ca să poți să îi intri în intimitatea lui și peste boundary-le, că nu știu cum e română, doar pentru că gen te folosești de scuzele, adică tot pentru el cumva, știi, gen nu că îl protejez, că știu eu mai bine ce ai de făcut și de-aia îi citesc jurnalul, de-aia mă uit la el în telefon, de-aia îl urmăresc, whatever, căcaturi de-astea. Toată lumea în afară de two teens, și un conservativ parent, ok, sure.
Boundaries breed intimacy. If you don't have that
limite așa, da. I guess, yeah.
How can I be open with you as a child? There's that lack of trust.
Fair point, gen, cred că e cel mai valid point și cred că mulți părinți ar fi surprinși de faptul că dacă le-ar respecta limitele și dacă le-ar respecta dorințele, mulți copii ar fi mult mai deschiși cu ei. N-ar mai avea lucruri de ascuns dacă ar crea genul ăsta de conexiune.
Respecting boundaries. It's also important because each kid is different, and I have a brother, and boundaries that work for me don't work for him, and so my parents parent both of us according to what we need, and
nice,
that involves having different boundaries. So,
and like to honor your child's boundaries does not mean at your boundaries there's a deficit at my boundaries. Like my kid is not going to be cussing me out, telling me what he's not going to do. It's none of that. I can respect my child, and I have a 14-year-old son, and he respects me. I've never had any issues with rebellion or I guess disrespect in that way because we communicate about everything now.
Cum că 3 persoane.
You know, there is a
yeah, that's kind of shitty.
Of course that you don't want to cross, you know, especially when
I mean, to be fair, eu până la 10 sau 11 ani am dormit cu tata în pat, că gen, ai mei nu se înțelegeau bine și gen, nu voiau să doarmă împreună, așa că dormeam eu cu tata și mama dormea singură, so, yeah. Și m-am mutat abia când am început să mă masturbez și mă masturbam cu tata în pat și prefera, gen, a zis, da, nu cred că I cannot deal with this și m-am mutat.
Of the child.
It is 100% safety, and it just means you respect their emotions as a human. It doesn't mean you let your kid do whatever.
Fair, asta zic.
It's a common misconception.
Can the disagreeers step forward?
Ia să vedem. Câte din argumentele mele, sau au fost și doi teens.
The prompt was worded almost a little bit differently because it puts importance on my kids' boundaries, where I think as a parent we set those boundaries. But I like what you said, where you said that just because boundaries are set doesn't give, you know, your child the ability or the reason to cuss you out.
Sunt doar pe jumătate de acord cu ce zici ăsta, în sensul de nu poți să vii să zici că tu ești ăla care setează limitele, care și el dreptul să-și seteze propriile lui limite. Adică sure, setezi și tu niște limite în sensul de gen, bro, n-ai voie să faci aia, n-ai voie să faci aia, I can agree with that. Dar nu poți să setezi toate limitele doar tu și gen, dacă tu setezi niște limite și el setează niște limite și tu te aștepți ca el să-ți respecte limitele tale, și nu mă refer la limitele tale personale, mă refer la limitele tale pentru el. Ce încerc să zic e că sunt șanse mult mai mari să respecte limitele pe care tu le setezi pentru el dacă tu îi respecti limitele pe care el le setează pentru el. Asta încerc să zic.
Because it's like, oh, well, I've set these boundaries up and that's my boundary.
It seems like people are equating boundaries with emotions, and I would not do that. I would say that their emotions are different from their boundaries that we as parents should be setting for them, because I don't know about you, but when I was a child, I broke every boundary that my parents set for me, and they were there for specific reasons, to keep me safe. So if we just allow our children to have no boundaries, or we allow them to set the standard for themselves, I think that they're just not emotionally, to bring that word back, capable of doing that and keeping themselves.
Da, cum ziceam, mi se pare foarte pe 3 căi, ea zice dacă setăm limite ca copiii noștri să fie safe. În aceeași propoziție în care a zis, da, toate limitele pe care le-au setat părinții mei, eu nu le-am respectat. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, yes. That's why it's important to have a good communication with your child. Nu e suficient doar să fii părinte, trebuie să fii și prieten, trebuie să fii și, I don't know, mai zic cuvinte, trebuie să fii prieten, trebuie să fii părinte, trebuie să fii susținător, trebuie să fii, inventați cuvinte, trebuie să fii tot. Asta e ce cred eu.
Yeah, I think too, going off of that.
Mentor, yes, I agree.
The relationship
Și alte cuvinte.
Is very contingent on the child knowing that the parent has your best interest.
Mereu când vorbesc despre chestia asta, cred că am un exemplu care până acum nu mi-a fost niciodată contracarat. Și chiar aș vrea să poată cineva să-mi dea un argument cu chestia asta. Relația între părinte și copil e clar, adică asta cred că toată lumea poate să conceapă că nu ține doar de părinte, ține și de copil. Unde vreau să ajung cu asta? Spre exemplu, eu dacă aș avea un copil, i-aș lăsa mai multă libertate decât poate ar considera cineva normal și asta cred că creează și o anumită încredere între mine și copil. Ce vreau să zic? Spre exemplu, vine copilul și ce vreau să bag mâna în foc și eu îi zic, bă, nu băga mâna în foc că te doare. Nu, că eu vreau să bag mâna în foc. Nu, că băga mâna în foc că nu e bine, focul arde, focul doare, focul arde. Nu, că eu vreau să bag mâna în foc. Bine, bro, bagă mâna în foc. Evident, nu o să las să țină mâna acolo până îi cade de pe oase, da, gen. Adică las să facă asta și îl trag repede și să vadă despre ce e vorba. În imaginația mea, chestia asta, îi crește încrederea în mine, că o să zic, uite, tata mi-a zis să nu fac asta, că o să mă doară și m-a durut, înseamnă că tata are dreptate. Și data viitoare când îi zic și încă o dată, a 5-a oară când se întâmplă o să mă asculte. Când îi zic, bă, nu face asta că o să te doare, o să zic, ok, celelalte 5 dăți am făcut asta și m-a durut, înseamnă că și acum are sens. Asta 1. Și 2, în imaginația mea, cred că și creează posibilitatea de a experimenta și de a descoperi singur, decât să fie dependent de mine și să fie dependent de ce îi zic eu. Să-i zic asta e bine, asta nu e bine, asta e nu știu ce. Gen, e important să lași un copil să-și creeze propriul lui set de valori și de idei și de gânduri și de asta îmi place, asta nu-mi place, asta whatever. Gen, să se descopere el pe el și să descopere lumea din jurul lui decât să o descoperi tu pentru el, să-i zici eu știu deja. Dar acum vine argumentul pe care l-am eu de obicei. Asta poate să însemne două lucruri cu aia, pentru că nu depinde doar de tine. Dacă faci chestia asta, poate să vină copilul 20 de ani mai târziu și să zică n-ai fost un părinte bun pentru că m-ai lăsat să bag mâna în foc și m-a durut și n-ai avut grijă de mine. Când în imaginația mea eu am făcut asta doar ca să-i dau mai multă libertate și ca să fie mai expresiv și mai self-sufficient și mai whatever. Doar că el n-a perceput lucrurile așa. Acum, bineînțeles, poate să vină și partea elaltă. Se zică, tată, mulțumesc că m-ai crescut așa, că uite, acum știu să experimentez, știu ce am de făcut și nu știu ce. Dar dacă ești pe partea elaltă, poate să fie și invers. Gen să fii un părinte foarte protectiv, să zici nu băga și chiar să nu lași să bagi mâna în foc și după aia 20 de ani mai târziu să vină să zică ai fost prea protectiv cu mine, de acum nu sunt în stare de nimic în viața reală, să-mi vai de curul meu, nu mi-e frică și să ies pe stradă sau whatever. Sure, e un exemplu exagerat, dar înțelegi ce vreau să zic. Adică depinde și foarte mult de copil și de cum percepe el lucrurile și de asta e mult mai important decât orice, e mult mai important să ai o comunicare suficient de bună cu copilul, că de asta m-am oprit, că zice asta, knowing that the parent has your best interest at heart. Asta e cel mai important. Nu e suficient doar să-i zici copilului fă asta că eu știu mai bine sau fă aia că nu știu ce sau fă aia că nu știu ce. E important să aveți o comunicare destul de bine și el cu tine și tu cu el, încât să știți că e important binele vostru unul față de altul. Mai determinat să facă și ori, da, gen, tu zici și tu în capul tău zici, măcar mi-am făcut treaba de părinte, bro.
And like you said, there were many times in my childhood that I wanted to do something and I didn't have the same boundary that my parents did. Maybe I didn't have all the information. I'm glad that they protected me and they had my best interest at heart.
Exact despre ce vorbeam. Ăsta vine și a zis, da, mă bucur că părinții mei au setat limitele alea. M-au protejat, dar în același timp altcineva poate să crească și să zică nu mă bucur că au avut limitele alea cu mine, că uite-mă acum, sunt nefuncțional în mână, pentru că depinde de la copil la copil, depinde să-ți dai seama ce are nevoie copilul tău, ce vrea copilul tău, ce știe copilul tău, ce are nevoie, cum are nevoie să se dezvolte copilul tău. Nu e suficient doar să zici ce a funcționat la mine, funcționează și la copilul meu sau dacă mentalitatea aia pișată de uite că pe mine m-au bătut ai mei și n-am pățit nimic, uite ce bine am ieșit. Da, bro, ok.
And I think that that's important for the parent-child relationship.
Can I throw in a follow-up question? Let's redirect and think about boundaries too as autonomy. Okay, go.
Encompassing what though?
As an example, a little kid doesn't feel comfortable hugging a family member, you must hug them anyway. That's your uncle, hug them. And they're trying to tell you,
absolutely not.
I was actually about to talk on that. I think it's less about the child setting the boundary with the parent. I think parents should definitely like have the final say in terms of those boundaries, but I think it's more about fostering conversation with the children that you are an individual, you do have autonomy.
Yes.
Just for this phase of your life, I will take the lead, I am the parent, but instilling in the child that you are your own person and you're not just an extension of me.
I
Yes.
have a 6-year-old, a 2-year-old, and 11-month-old son. So there is no boundaries because you can't have boundaries if there's no foundation and order. You know, so for me, what I strive to do is to, with my 6-year-old, is just give her lots of words of affirmation and be the lead in everything we do. You know, she rides horses, we go out to the range, she shoots guns. A lot of the structure and foundation that we're planning is, you know, in the outdoor world. It's not based off social media, tablets, cell phones, and reality TV.
Phones, bad, book, good. Nu vreau să intru în polemică, nu.
I'm
Nu,
gonna
nu, nu.
wait until
Okay.
she tells me what her boundaries are. I'm gonna wait and see how she feels. Well, that's not a parent, that's a friend.
But isn't that what happens?
Yes, but you have to also be a friend to your child, nu doar un părinte. Nu poți să fii doar un părinte, pentru că dacă o să fii doar un părinte, atunci o să rămâi doar un părinte și o să te întrebi, de ce nu mi-a spus asta, de ce n-a făcut asta cu mine, de ce nu mai petrecem timp împreună, de ce nu mai nu știu ce. Dacă vrei să fii un părinte, sure, fii un părinte, dar după aia să nu te aud. Să nu te aud, bro.
The parents set the precedent. This is the
Right.
law. This is
Right.
the rules and regulations. It's the foundation, whether it's Christianity, whether it's whatever that you believe in your household. And then you do have your autonomy as a child, and you do start challenging your parent because your ideas and their ideas might not align just the same way anymore. And that is when the kid has so if your daughter, let's say, said, you know what, Daddy, I don't want to wear these clothes no more. I don't want to wear this pink dress. I don't want to wear these frills. I don't want to dress like a girl. I want to cut my hair off. What would you say?
That wouldn't be up to me. That would be up to our mother.
Okay, what would you guys say? I would imagine that together you guys make that
Good
decision.
answer.
Then well, you know, in all honesty, I do work. I have a career and stuff, but I'm a stay-at-home father at the same time. So I'm the one who dresses. I'm the one who does the hair.
Sure.
But at the same
Bro, answer the question.
time, it would be up to her mom to decide, okay, well, how can we go about this? And also, if she's having these feelings, we're going to stop for a second, not just hop on and say, okay, well, she says that she wants to dress like a boy now, or she says she wants to do this now. Well, let's see where it's coming from. Because obviously, if she's not seen it in our home.
Insinuează cumva că lucrurile astea se iau, gen, ok, no.
Then she saw it
It's
from
fine, it's fine.
somewhere.
It's not true. I was 5 years old when I told my mom, I do not want to wear this pink dress. And my parents are pastors, are Christian, and I was adopted in Michigan, Grand Rapids,
don't think that
Michigan.
really has
I'm
anything
just
to do
saying
with it,
all
though.
these things. I was the only black.
Îi zice, da, la 5 ani eu am zis lui tata că nu mai vreau să port rochile astea, am fost crescută de părinții pastors, pălămă, argumentul lui. Da, nu cred că are nimic de a face cu asta. What?
Child in my entire school district. We were in the paper for bringing multiculturalism to the school district. So I didn't see any tomboys. I didn't see no gay folk. I didn't see nothing.
Gay
What
folk.
my point is, I had a call, I guess you would say a calling of autonomy for who I am. And I'm unapologetic for it because I always
Good.
follow that as a 6, 7,
Good.
8, 9-year-old. And thankfully, I had 2 parents that might not have understood,
Right.
but did fortify me to be myself and never forced me to wear the clothes that I didn't want to wear. My thing is, absolutely give a strong foundation for your children. That's your right. You wouldn't have brought children in this world to not do that. But you got to be a listener. If your child is saying something that kind of is like, wait, where is this coming from?
Oh, absolutely.
It might not
Absolutely.
be coming from social media or TV. It might be coming from their heart and their authenticity
Well,
of
absolutely.
themselves.
Well, that's also our job as parents to search their heart. You know, just because a child
Is
says,
it?
absolutely.
To search your child's heart?
Absolutely. To
Or to
search
accept your child
heart.
who they are?
Search your child's heart. I don't think we're actually in the conversation to even be talking about dressing or how your kid feels about their gender identity.
At 6 years old, your child
We're
can't
talking
decide.
about boundaries. We're not.
Ok, sure, fair enough. Argumentul de, hey, vorbim despre limite, nu vorbim despre my child's gender identity, sure. I can give him that. Dar să zici că un copil nu poate să zică, hei, nu vreau să mă joc cu mașinuțe, vreau să mă joc cu roboței sau whatever. Eu mă jucam cu păpușele când eram mic. M-am îmbrăcat în femeie când eram mic. Mi-am luat machiajul lui mama și topurile lui mama și whatever. I don't know. Vreau să experimentez, bro, what do you mean? Nu mi se pare deloc o problemă. Și din câte am înțeles, e destul de comună chestia asta, mai ales la băieți. Sunt de acord că un copil poate să își dea oarecum, nu neapărat despre gender identity în ideea aia, adică nu poate să vină un copil neapărat să zică când n-are conceptul întreg ce înseamnă gender, ce înseamnă sex, ce înseamnă asta, nu știu ce, dar dacă vine și zice, hei, nu mă simt confortabil în rochițe, vreau să port pantaloni, da, mă, ok, sure, ok, baby, there you go.
Not talking about
We're talking
sexual
about autonomy.
orientation with
No,
children.
we're talking about autonomy, and autonomy
Yeah, but
would
you
be
shouldn't-
having-
Sexual orientation with children, that's grooming, bro. That's all the gay people do. They groom child. They want to groom them and then to make them gay.
Shouldn't accept your child for everything that
Everything
they
they
think. Like
say.
I
Why
used to dress
not?
up and like think I was a pirate, but my parents didn't cut off my arm and attach a hook. Like not everything
that's
should
so
just affirm.
different.
Well,
No, but it's not.
Oh my god, bro. Oh my god, bro. Nu cred că am auzit vreodată de la oameni de dreapta argumente care nu duc totul la o extremă, la cea mai mare extremă. Să compari un copil care nu vrea să se îmbrace în rochie și vrea să se îmbrace în pantaloni cu faptul că el se îmbrăca în pirat când era mic și măsa nu i-a tăiat mâna ca și cum, că gen, acum face referire la trans în sensul de gen, nu mi-a tăiat mâna să-mi pună un cârlig ca și cum nu mi-a tăiat penisul să-mi pună un vagin, știi? De ce trebuie să o duci la extrema aia? Nu înțeleg. De ce nu poți să vii cu argumente? Bine, de ce? Pentru că n-au argumente destul de valide. Gen, singurele lor argumente valide sunt argumentele astea care dacă le duci la extrema aia, sure, cred că și eu aș fi de acord cu ele dacă extrema aia ar fi o extremă validă, dar nu e.
No,
bit
but what I'm
extreme.
saying is you don't accept everything simply because they say it. Like
Self-mutilation and accepting your daughter for being gay is a little bit not apples to apples,
hyperbole,
my
of course,
friend.
but my point is that you don't just blindly accept for anything. You do accept them for some things, but it's not just blind. They said it, and therefore we should accept them for what they said.
It's not in a
Depinde despre ce vorbim. Da, cred că ar trebui să accepti multe chestii de la copilul tău doar pentru că a zis. Chiar crezi că vrei să foster this kind of environment cu copilul tău suficient de mult încât să question everything they say and they do, bro? What the fuck? Just, da, sunt, sure, unele lucruri, dacă vine și zice, tati, vreau să omor câinele ăla, da, ok, sure. Dacă vine și zice lucruri imorale, yes, I agree, question it. Încerc să-ți dai seama de unde vin lucrurile astea, de ce vin lucrurile astea. Dar... Bine, având în vedere că oamenii de dreapta consideră că e imoral să fii gay, sure, I agree că gen, dacă vine și zice, hey, sunt gay, trebuie să question it pentru că e imoral. Ok, sure. Bravo,
necessarily
bro.
accepting. It's more of letting them explore. It's more of them giving them an option to find themselves. I have
think
twins.
that's reckless.
I have twins and twin girls, and they're 5 now. And at 2.5, one of them didn't want to wear dresses anymore. She was like adamant about it at 2.5, and I'm like, whoa, this is powerful. And we went with it. We wanted her to explore that. We wanted to make sure that she felt comfortable in her own skin on what she was wearing. And I didn't want to put that on her and make sure that, you know, she has this femininity that maybe she doesn't feel like she has. You know, that's not saying that she's gay or
I agree. Plus că sunt atâtea povești cu copii care, mai ales cu fete, pentru că acum revenim iar la societatea patriarhată. Dar bărbații într-o societate patriarhată n-au posibilitatea să se exprime atât de mult. Dar, spre exemplu, la fete și femei care în copilărie și în tinerețe erau foarte feminine și abia după aia s-au schimbat, dar și invers. Femei care, bine, cuvântul de feminin îl folosesc mai mult în ideea generalizată. Nu consider că există feminin sau nefeminin. Consider că bărbații poate să poarte rochie și femeile poate să poarte rochie și fiecare poate să se îmbrace cum vrea el. Și toate chestiile astea sunt normalități date de societate, lucru clar dovedit și din istorie, din simplu fapt că tocurile au fost inventate pentru bărbați, înainte movul și rozul era pentru bărbați, lucruri care s-au schimbat odată cu modernizarea societății și whatever. Nu zic că una e rea și alta e bună, ce zic e că ar trebui să fie fiecare lăsat să se îmbrace și să poarte ce vrea el și cum vrea el. Acum că am lămurit, dar ce vreau să zic e că sunt femei care în tinerețe s-au îmbrăcat într-un mod social feminin și pe parcurs au zis da, nu mai vreau să mă îmbrac mai masculin și invers. Fete care s-au îmbrăcat foarte masculin în tinerețe și cu cât au crescut mai mult și-au descoperit feminitatea, sexualitatea și cum vreți voi să mai numiți și s-au îmbrăcat cum au vrut ele.
Or anything. She just doesn't like dresses.
I would agree
And
with you.
to this day, she's 5 and she still doesn't wear dresses.
And she might
is
like
happy.
dresses in
Yeah,
a couple of years.
exact ce
She might
ziceam.
change her mind and actually like dresses.
Exact ce
And that's
ziceam.
her choice.
I have a
Exactly.
question. It's personal to you because I don't know if I heard it correctly. Did you say you were adopted?
I was.
Okay, you had adopted parents. Do you think
They're
that
the only parents I recognize as my parents,
Okay.
but I was adopted.
do you
yes.
do you think that their willingness to be, let's just use the word liberal in acceptance and you wanting to do the things that you do is because they're your adopted parents and
Absolutely
maybe
not.
that they felt this obligation that they want to be closer to you?
Absolutely not. I'm the only one adopted in
Okay.
my family, and my mom and dad actually do not believe in my lifestyle, and they're unapologetic for that. And I respect it because everybody has to believe in what they believe in. So even though they don't believe that my lifestyle is necessarily of God or of their faith, we can still come to terms and love each other and be with each other because
I don't know what to say, man. Respectul, adică good for them that because it's working for them și respectul meu pentru părinții lor că poate să treacă peste asta. Au balanța asta între, hey, nu sunt de acord cu ce faci, dar în același timp, we're still loving each other. That's nice.
we're bigger than that, and they have the right to believe what
Right.
they
So
believe.
you
On
said
that
that
note,
you're,
move on to the next
ahead.
prompt. It's best for a child to have a mother and
Asta e a doua întrebare care nu există studii care să arate asta. Mai mult decât atâta, majoritatea studiilor arată că nu contează neapărat sexul părinților dintr-o familie, cât contează să fie doi și să fie într-o familie iubitoare și să fie într-o familie balansată și să fie într-o familie, într-o anumită situație financiară. Sunt lucruri care sunt mult mai importante decât sexul părinților. Singurele studii reale care există pe tema asta sunt gen singure studii reale. Toate sunt studii reale, dar mă refer singurele chestii arătate de studiile astea sunt faptul că e mult mai important ca un copil să aibă doi părinți, indiferent de sexul care sunt părinții, decât să aibă un singur părinte sau niciun părinte atol, evident.
a father.
I'm gonna set this one down.
You thought about that one for a second. I like
I
that.
did. I
Yeah.
had to think about that for a second.
Well, I mean, I think it's kind of obvious, right? For a plethora of reasons, but I think the ordered way is, you know,
O să las,
mother
scuze.
and father for two different people that have two different and distinct purposes. We all know mothers are just inherently better at nurturing. They provide life, they give life, and I think both of those two distinct roles are absolutely important and integral to child development, I think.
Ok, deci tot ce am auzit de la băiatul ăsta e faptul că un copil are nevoie de o mamă. And I can agree with that, maybe. Acum să folosești argumentul ăla pe care l-au folosit, dacă mai țineți minte din video trecut când au întrebat, hei, e ok să fie o femeie președinte? E ok, dar nu știu dacă e optimal. Singurul motiv că fix aici vreau să ajung la ce a zis ăsta, că sunt two distinct roles that need to be fulfilled in a family. Argumentul meu e unul simplu. Cine și cum s-au creat rolurile alea? Sunt roluri create de societate în care tatăl trebuie să fie un bărbat puternic care dă copilului sensul de masculinitate și ce înseamnă să fii mascul și ce înseamnă să nu știu ce, și mama trebuie să fie partea emoțională a relației nu știu ce. Dacă despre asta vorbim, atunci nu are niciun sens, pentru că rolurile alea sunt roluri create de societate, nu sunt niște lucruri reale, la fel cum alte lucruri create de societate nu sunt lucruri reale. Și sunt roluri care oricum poate să fie împlinite și de către doi tați sau de către două mame. O mamă poate să fie mai masculină și chiar dacă nu e mai masculină, poate să îi ofere copilului integritatea și valorile necesare ca să poată să devină cel la ce se referă el în rolurile societății. Și un tată poate să fie mai emoțional. Și, din nou, tot ce contează e să fie o familie care se iubește, care are grijă unul de altul, care, vrei să-mi zici că până și în familiile tradiționale nu sunt relații unde mama e mult mai gen liderul în familie și face și drege și nu știu ce și tatăl e vai de curul lui emoțional care nu zice nimic, nu zice ce precedent setează copilului tău. Ce fel de rol zice, că uite ce e bărbatul și uite ce e femeia, nu? Dacă despre asta vorbim.
Yeah, I can speak to my own experience. I had two parents in the home, very loving, and it was really vital to have a masculine figure and also a feminine figure. I think if you have too much of either, that can affect you in negative ways as a kid. The problem that I have with the same-sex parenting is that when you have a same-sex couple that has a child, they're necessarily depriving that child of a mother and a father, and they're excluding a parent in one of those important roles from the child. And we have a lot of data on this. Social scientists have tons of studies and research about this. That non-biological parents are more transitory than biological parents. That when a child loses a parent, that there's a lot of trauma involved. And so I think it's important.
Ok, data de care vorbește el n-are nicio legătură cu asta. Omul vorbea de non-transitory parents and gen biological parents și transitory parents. Da, bro, ok, sure, noi nu vorbeam despre asta. Da, sunt de acord că losing a parent causes a lot of trauma și sunt de acord că dacă spre exemplu, e un copil de 14 ani care până la 14 ani a crescut într-o familie absolut tradițională, în care există niște roluri presetate, în care bărbatul face și femeia face și aia, și aia, și aia, și aia, și aia, și aia. Când o să iasă, dacă spre exemplu îi moare părinții, Doamne ferește, sau e dat spre adopție sau whatever și ajunge într-un environment care este queer, în care aceste roluri nu sunt fulfilled. Sure, sunt absolut de acord că poate să-l dea peste cap, dar nu despre asta vorbim, bro.
Realize that sexes are different and children need models for both of those things. And it isn't to say that homosexuals can't love and commit. And it's also not to say that heterosexuals can't be bad parents. I think we know that as well. But it is to say that we shouldn't set up a system in which children are intentionally put in homes that are fatherless or motherless. That isn't fair to the child. I feel like same-sex parents trusting the child into their lifestyle instead of realizing and asking the better question, which is, what is best for that child? And I hear the side that we will be good parents, but no man can be...
Bro, singurul moment în care aș putea fi de acord cu acest argument, ultimul moment, deci dacă ar fi, luăm toate timeline-urile ca Dr. Stanley.
Be back, Jeremy.
Hey, what was that?
Went forward in time to view alternate futures.
Am verificat toate cele 14 miliarde de multi-universe.
How many did we win?
Bă, 1. Singurul moment în care aș fi de acord cu acest argument e dacă ar mai fi un copil orfan și s-ar bate 5 familii pentru el. A zice, ok, hai să ne gândim ce e cel mai bine pentru copilul ăsta. Ce e cel mai optimal. Asta le place la băieții de dreapta să vorbească. Ce e cel mai optim. Dacă tu vii și îmi zici și mie că ai prefera ca copilul ăla să nu fie adoptat deloc decât să fie adoptat de o familie de same sex, jegă. Pentru mine nu există așa ceva. Nu există. Să ai tufeul să-mi zici dacă ești într-o familie de same sex și vrei să adopți, nu te gândești ce e cel mai bine pentru copil. Că dacă lași acolo și de fapt l-ar fi adoptat o familie tradițională, trebuie să te gândești la asta, bro. Nu poți să faci tu așa chestii de capul. Urăsc argumentul ăsta. Urăsc ideea asta cu aia de să te gândești ce e cel mai bine pentru copii. Nu, bro, când zici chestia asta nu te gândești ce e cel mai bine pentru copii. Că dacă te-ai gândit ce e cel mai bine pentru copii, l-ai lăsat să fie adoptat în loc să fie în continuare orfan ca să ajungă la 18 ani pe străzi. Că nu toți copiii sunt adoptați și să dorm pe urechea, nu, că dacă l-adoptă totuși o familie normală. Nu, bro, nu poți. Normală în ghilimele, by the way.
And even if you are the best same-sex couple in the world, you still are necessarily denying that child a parent. And I believe that children have rights. And that the most important right is a right to a mother and a father. And they have that right.
Același om care zicea că copilul n-are dreptul să-și aleagă boundaries, că gen de ce la school, ok, sure.
By virtue of being brought into this world by those two people.
Okay.
I also want to add on to that because like you touching on like the masculinity and the femininity, the thing is you can only display so much masculinity and femininity. Thing is, like, it doesn't matter if you're a biological woman and you're trying to exert as much masculinity as possible. At the end of the day, a child's gonna grow up in a same-sex household. They're gonna go to school and then see that other parents have a father figure, a mother figure, and they're gonna grow up and start, and just all this stuff about same-sex couples, like gender, all this is gonna come to them at a very young age. They're one-dimensional. They're not gonna take it in the same way that we do. So,
Da, pentru că nu contează. Încerc să mă gândesc cum să explic. Pentru că dacă e o normalitate, n-ar trebui să conteze dacă chestiile astea vin la young age or not. Nimeni nu pune la îndoială familia tradițională. De ce toată lumea pune la îndoială familiile de same sex, mai ales când nu există studii care să dovedească că sunt problematice pentru copii? Gen, dintr-o dată, chestiile astea de queer vin prea devreme pentru copil. Dar ar trebui să vină devreme, pentru că este o normalitate, bro. Când chestiile astea o să fie tratate ca o normalitate, nu o să mai conteze că... E ca și cum copilul tău a auzit despre câini la 5 ani. Nu vorbim de câini. E prea devreme. What do you mean?
Like from a very young age, it would confuse the kid.
I was raised by a single mother.
Super confusing, bro.
And so I was raised by all women. So, like I was saying before, you know, I do hair. I grew up in salons.
Coai, o altă dovadă, a fost crescut doar de mame, da? Doar de femei. Mi se pare un bărbat destul de mascul. Într-o societate patriarhată, cu normele societății, a ce înseamnă masculinitate, mi se pare că este un bărbat care dă dovadă de masculinitate, deși a fost crescut doar de femei.
Watching my mom getting her eyebrows waxed, and I was always, you know, masculine as a young boy, but the validation and the insecurities just continued to grow as I became older. As far as working and being committed to something and finishing a task, those were areas that I lacked in. But one area that I knew about and was so familiar about was women. But as far as having a man say, hey, this is actually what the woman is for. She's not to be your plaything. She's actually a valued person.
Trebuie să zic un bărbat asta? Ok, hear me out on this one. Și poate sunt prea dur cu el acum. Dar singurul motiv pentru care ai avea nevoie să zică un bărbat asta e că dacă tu nu consideri femeile ce zici că ar trebui un bărbat să zică. Pentru că dacă o femeie ar veni și ți-ar zice femeile sunt X, X și Y și tu vii și zici nu vreau să aud asta de la un bărbat, there you go. There you go, bro.
Values, and this is how you should, you know, treat a woman. So to have a father in my life would have kept me from doing a ton of stuff that ended up hurting me emotionally later on and causing a lot of trauma. You know, so now that I have a son, I hug him and give him that masculine, if you would say, you know, emotional embrace, you know, and I think that's important. You can't just get that from one or the other or the same sex. I believe it can only come from a mother and a father.
I disagree.
Yeah. Well, I also, not only is it, you know, as a Christian, it's not biblical to represent that to our children, but I don't think it's a sustainable model either. If you're looking at it from that perspective, like if we're going to normalize same-sex households, we'll have a very difficult reproduction issue down the line. Think of every single family.
Nu, bro, pentru că we will have a difficult reproduction issue down the line. Ok, 1, deja avem overpopulation, dar să zicem că asta n-ar fi o problemă. Vrei să-mi zici tu mie că copiii crescuți într-un same-sex household nu poate să fie straight? Deci de ce contează? Dacă un copil crescut în same-sex household poate să fie straight, why does it matter? Asta înseamnă că un băiat crescut de 2 mame și o femeie crescută de 2 tați care sunt straight poate să se cupleze să facă un copil. Ca și cum ar fi fost crescuți de părinți normali, din nou în ghilimele, bro.
Suddenly became a single-sex household. There's a reason why mammals have a male and a female and they reproduce. You know, that's the way we're built. That's the way we're built biologically and from God.
I don't agree with most of the you guys said, but I do agree about balance, okay? I am a queer mother of a 14-year-old male, and I believe that he definitely benefits from a male in his life as well as me in his life. Now, the thing that you guys really aren't touching on is that most queer families are not just the deficit of the opposite sex. There's a lot of extended family. Like, I make sure that my son has lots of male influence because I know, like what you're talking about is 1,000% true, especially in the Black community. The destruction of the Black household is just a whole different conversation. But because I know that, it is my responsibility to make sure he's got a strong male influence or a few of them in his life. Now, if they're not a father, they can be a father figure. I'm adopted, so I don't necessarily agree with everything you said about the biology of family, because I believe the only thing that's real in this world is love. And I do believe anybody can love and fortify a child a beautiful environment. But I do believe a child does benefit from male and female energy. And that is best of mine.
Sure. Cred că asta e limita la care m-aș opri și eu. I think I agree. Problema mea nu e asta. Adică dacă vorbim de chestii optime, iar revenim la chestii optime. Sure, cred că aș putea fi de acord că e optim pentru un copil să aibă un mamă și un tată. Dar asta nu înseamnă că same-sex parents shouldn't be able to adopt sau copiii n-ar trebui să fie lăsați în familii de same sex. Pentru că nu e un detriment. Este optim? Nu știu, n-am văzut suficiente studii pe tema asta. Și chiar dacă n-ar fi optim, dacă nu e în rău copilului și gen pur și simplu nu e optim, în loc să fie 100%, e 85%, bro. Oh, nu. Super, hai să lăsăm în orfelinate, unde e 30%, 20%, 10%.
So I disagree. Clearly, being a two-male household with 2 little girls, like you were saying, you know, I have a lot of strong women in my life and in my husband's life, And, you know, we make sure that they are a part of our lives, they are a part of our girls' lives, that they know them very well, that they feel comfortable with them.
Îmi place,
And I have
îmi
even
place
told them
zoom-ul ăsta am uitat cum îl cheamă.
5 years old, you know, if you don't feel comfortable ever coming to me about any kind of situation, you have your aunt, you have your grandma, you have these awesome, amazing women in your life that you can talk to, and you should feel open about it.
Do you really think that it's your extended family's job, as like you mentioned, like strong female figures? Do you think it's their job for them to parent your own kid? Because
they're not parenting.
Not
it's
at all.
just an influence.
We were talking about like extended relatives, but what about immigrant families where all of your extended relatives are in a different country, a different
Ok, bro. Vezi?
It doesn't have to be
Despre asta vorbesc. Chiar o ducem la cele mai exagerate extreme.
family though. It can be like
Chosen family.
It can be chosen family. It's just some woman or some man in your life that has a relationship with that child, and it's not their job to parent, but it's their job to maybe step in and give that. Like, I know for me, I have 2 dads and I have strong female figures in my life. They never parented me, but sure, I know.
E important și să vină să zică, gen, nu e treaba lor să parent them, dar e gen important să vină. Spre exemplu, eu dacă aș avea o fată și ar veni prietena mea cea mai bună să-mi zică, bro, asta și asta. Pe cine crezi că aș asculta? Pe mine, care nu știu despre ce vorba, sau pe femeia care a trecut prin toată viața?
That they're there if I need them. I mean, you know, when I got my period, I went to my dad's. I didn't want to go to any woman because they're my parents and they made me feel loved.
Hey.
And I had never, ever once wanted a mom, sought a mom, thought I was missing something because I didn't have a mom, and I'm sick and tired.
Spălat-o pe creier, bro. Spălat-o pe creier.
Of people telling me that I am missing something because I'm
Capa, băi.
just not.
It's because you didn't have it.
Yeah, but
See, my point.
Like you're missing something, or you're not missing having 2 dads because you didn't have it.
Well, no, that's not what we're talking about.
My point. Good take.
Because what happened? No.
Gen, de ce, da, vezi, pentru că e atât de normalizată familia tradițională, nici pentru o secundă you don't question the other side. Gen, nimeni nu vine și zice, da, bro, nu ți-a lipsit nimic de la 2 tați pentru că n-ai avut o familie normală și nu știi cum e, n-are cum să-ți lipsească ceva ce nu știi cum e. Dar după aia poți să o dai la întors și să zici, dacă tu ai fost într-o familie normală și nu știi cum e într-o familie cu 2 tați, de unde știi că nu ți-a lipsit ție ceva din familia aia? Știi ce zic?
You're missing out then.
Well, because they don't have 2 dads?
Good take.
I hear yes, ma'am, but I hear
No, hold on, because we all know, you know this, and I know this. There's this bond that a mother and child have that nobody can replace. I don't care if it's another dad, I don't care if it's aunt, I don't care if it's a grandmother.
Wrong. There was a study done showing that the fathers form the same biological connection.
Studies mean nothing to me.
Studies mean nothing to me. Every right-winger ever.
I want to hear him out. I want to hear this guy out right here.
Listen,
What's he saying?
You saying that I've never cared about having a mom, it never
Let him cook. Coi omul m-a zis legit, I don't care about studies. Studies mean nothing to me.
bothered me. I have 2 dads, they're great. You're saying that because you don't have your mother, which kills me. That kills me to think that you never knew her.
You. It doesn't kill me.
That is wild. What if her mom, what if her biological mom, let's just say her biological mom was a drug addict, a prostitute, like my biological mom, that did not hold me the first 3 months. I'm not missing her, hon. I'm not missing her.
We're not talking about best case scenario, we're talking about...
No, bro, studies don't matter. Este totul empiric, pentru că el a avut o conexiune bună cu măsa. Înseamnă că that's the normal.
But this is a real life scenario. This is a real life scenario. I don't miss that comfort.
But you don't know that because you don't know her.
But you don't know that because you're not me.
Exactly.
So
but
you
what
can't
I'm
speak for other queer folk and tell them what they're missing.
First of all, I don't even know what queer means because you have a different definition. I'm sure you have a different definition. I'm sure you have one. And I'm sure you have one. And I'm sure you have one.
It's 2022, baby. You better look up what queer means. It's often used awful.
So you guys. So hold on. You guys have the exact same definition of what a queer person is.
I get the definition from schooling, from academia.
Okay. I don't think any part of the conversation really bothered me so much. I think the one thing that I wish I could have nailed down was a clear definition of what being queer is. I understand that each person, and I actually said it, each person probably has his or her own definition. You know, the same way if they asked us what a conservative was, we probably would have had a definition for it. But I just wish that, you know, that definition would have helped me frame maybe some of my questions a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about you guys right here.
But you guys, we're all the same here, honey. We're all human beings with blood on.
Okay. Pot să admit că modul în care a framuit-o, you guys, weird. But she's coming off a little aggressive. I can agree. I can admit it. But she's a powerful, queer, black woman. She can be strong.
false
Girls,
god.
we're all the
Equality is a
same
false
people,
god. We are
honey.
not all the same. He's black. I'm mixed. White. White. We are
You
not
don't
the
know
same.
oh my God. Whatever you characterize me is a very
Wait,
small bit of me.
wait,
You
wait,
don't
wait,
know
wait,
me.
wait,
I
wait,
can't
wait.
judge
Retrag ce am spus. She's not coming off hard. She's coming out normal for what the fuck he just said. Omul tocmai a zis, we're not the same. He's black, I'm mixed. What? Bro,
Oh my God.
what?
Whatever you characterize me is a very small bit of me.
White.
Bro, what?
We are not all.
We're all human beings
No,
with blood
equality is a
running
false
through us.
god.
We're all
Equality
the
is
same
a false
people,
god. We are
honey.
not all the same. He's black. I'm mixed. White. White. We are not the same.
Oh my God. Whatever you characterize me is a very
Wow, guy. He just said we're not the same. He's black. Okay,
small
bro.
bit of me because you don't know me. I can't judge
Exactly,
you.
so I
off of
wouldn't
you.
assume to say
Well,
that
it's not-
I'm-
we're all-
that
we're
me and
all
you are the
human
same.
Beings.
We
We're all
even,
we're all human
inequality is what
beings.
actually makes everything good. I mean, we were just talking about how, you know, that somebody in your life, like an aunt, is filling the role of the mother.
I didn't say filling the role.
But you said
I did not
some
say
woman.
filling the
A
role.
mother is not
I do
some
not
woman.
put
A
words in
mother
my
is
mouth.
a mother.
Correct.
And no
I don't
matter
have a
who
mother.
you
I
are,
have some woman who I can go to if I need them, and there are
And
more
she's not
mothers.
missing out on a mother.
Coaie, imaginează, fii atent, hear me out on this one. Hear me out on this one, coaie. Vine cineva și zice, eu personal, coaie, pot să confirm că am doi tați și totul e ok. Nu e adevărat, nu știi despre ce vorbești, coaie. Nu știi despre ce vorbești. Dacă nu știi despre ce vorbești, nu știi despre ce vorbești. Punct, la revedere. Toate argumentele tale sunt invalide.
Because she doesn't have one, and
At the
nobody
end
should
of
be able to
the
tell
day,
her that.
Of course, she
shouldn't
has
have
a
one.
mother. She
Look.
just doesn't have a relationship.
I didn't have my father my whole entire, childhood. From the age of 22 until now, I have a good relationship with my father. I was missing something. I didn't really have a great relationship with my mother. My mother never talked to me.
Deci omul a venit și a zis, toată viața mea am avut doar femei în jurul meu. Mai mult decât atâta, nici măcar n-am avut o relație bună cu mama. I was missing something. Yeah, I wonder what, bro. Un tată. Dintr-o dată ai conectat totul cu un tată. Gata? Asta este. Îmi lipsea un tată. Acum, I know, bro.
To me, never said two words to me. I had absolutely nobody. So to say that, oh, I don't need a
But
mom.
being raised by a single parent and being
it's
raised
not
by
about-
a two-parent household, foundationally,
It's not about
economically,
that.
spiritually,
It's not about that,
it is
because
about
at the end of the
that.
day- at the end of
It
the
is
day-
about
at the end of
that.
Prici! Despre... Coi, de când a început filmulețul ăsta, v-am zis. Studiile arată specific familiile de one parent household și two parent household, indiferent de sex. That's it. Cel puțin momentan. Asta e ce știu eu de studiile care există. Mă îndoiesc că există alt studiu care să dovedească otherwise. Dacă există, abia aștept să mi-l dați. Surse, bro. Omul vine și face toată conexiunea în hei, mi-a lipsit un tată prin faptul că el a fost crescut doar de măsa. Dar n-a fost crescut de două mame, a fost crescută doar de un părinte care era mamă și cu care nici măcar nu s-a înțeles bine, coaie. Și din toată experiența asta lui de viață, concluzia lui e, mi-a lipsit tatăl.
Today, I don't want my household to be a free-for-all for anybody and everybody to come with their political views, their religious views. If I say I don't want my daughter to have sex before marriage, I don't want my best friend Susie to come and say,
Absolutely
well,
not.
you know.
gotta
Why
pick
do
your
you think
friends.
that's what my household is?
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking
Absolutely.
about
I agree.
my
I
household.
agree 1,000%.
I'm not talking about you. I
I
don't know
agree.
about your situation. What I'm saying is
Yeah, I agree with that, dar ce legătură are cu argumentul at hand? Sunt de acord că dacă tu vrei să ai anumite valori și anumite principii pentru copilul tău, să nu vină un random om să zică nu ar trebui să fie invers. Dar nu despre asta vorbim, bro.
as far as me and my house, I'm not going to let any and everybody, whether I love them, I understand what you guys are saying about
As you
love.
shouldn't.
Trust
As
me.
you
I understand
shouldn't.
what you guys are saying about love, and I
Așa.
agree.
And it'd be
Children need
heterosexual.
love, but also children need order.
Absolutely.
So therefore, in a same-sex house, the order of the natural order is being stripped away. I'm not saying you don't love your daughters. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the order. You love your two dads? That's great. They support you, they love you, they do things for you, they provide for you. That's amazing. But you're missing the substance of order that can help guide you
Hold on, can I
in
speak?
different directions.
Can I
Yes.
speak?
Și ce m-am văzut cel mai mult? E că dintre toți oamenii de la masa asta, e dovada aici, coaie, în fața ochilor noștri. E dovada. Dovada faptului că oameni crescuți de același same sex, cum e fata asta, cum e ăsta, cum whatever, sunt mult mai balansați decât un om care a fost crescut de un singur părinte, mamă sau tată. Punct.
Please, what am I missing? Pinpoint exactly what I am missing.
A mother.
And how, right, what am I missing from that?
Fundamental difference between a mother and a father.
Okay, so what can you point to in me?
Look,
I
that
don't
would
know
be
you.
different
I don't know you.
because-
That's why I
can-
asked the
can
question
say this.
originally.
I can say this. We don't know you personally.
Așa.
So when we say that you're missing something from not having a mother, you're missing guidance in different ways. Anybody can look, anybody can fabricate emotion. I have 2 daughters. I can go to my daughter and I can play Barbies with my daughter. She puts on her dresses, I'll be the king, she's the princess, and I can get on the ground crawl, I can make myself be feminine enough for me and her to have a good time. But the real femininity can only come from her mother. I can only.
Deci omul îmi zice, păi omul a venit, s-a uitat în ochii mei, da? S-a uitat în ochii mei și mi-a zis așa: o familie trebuie să aibă o mamă și un tată, pentru că dacă n-are un tată, copilul o să primească prea multă feminitate, sau dacă n-are o mamă o să primească prea multă masculinitate. După care a venit și a zis: bă, am fost crescut doar de mama și doar de femei în jurul meu, n-am avut a father figure. Ok, de ce nu e feminin atunci? De ce nu e feminin? De ce este în continuare un bărbat masculin?
Stop. Real quick. We need to move on in just a moment. We haven't heard from Brittany or Alexa.
I think it's really important to realize that it takes a village. It takes a village to raise children. So with Elizabeth coming from a 2-parent household, which was a big topic for the agreeers here, a 2-parent household, I don't think she's missing on anything. I raise my children with my wife. My daughter knows no different. You know, she is not missing anything. Neither is my son.
Do you think one day they will?
Absolutely not.
I have a question. I don't know how to ask this question. Was it like were you with a male when you had your daughter?
Yes, I was.
Okay. So I guess my question is more so for people for queer people who adopt children.
Okay.
Is there a agenda connected to it?
What?
To purposely, for the sake of society, community, you know, to adopt children into your home to prove a point.
What the fuck?
I think that's
I guess
what
I could say the
I
same
think that's
thing
what
for you,
causes
though.
the
If you're having a kid for a political agenda, you should not be a parent.
I wonder why white folks adopt black kids all the time. You always see white families adopt black children.
I love her. I love her.
From Africa, and I'm like, why can't you adopt, you know, a little white kid?
When you
look
at television, when you look at reality TV.
I love her. Și cum atât mai mult, chiar de curând a fost un scandal în America cu un marine soldier care a literally furat un copil din whatever, nu mai știu, dintr-o țară de asta, third world country, unde s-a dus. Gen s-a dus, au intrat, au avut un raid de ăsta în village-ul lor, i-au omorât părinții și după aia l-au răpit copilul cu aia, după ce l-au omorât părinții. Și argumentul lui era că practic l-am adoptat, că ei acolo nici n-au o idee despre ce l-a adoptat. Doar că eu asta am făcut, l-am adoptat.
I feel, just from what I'm seeing, I don't go off of statistics and data. That's a bunch of BS.
Altul, oare de ce nimeni de pe partea dreaptă nu se duce după statistici și după studii? Pentru că sunt împotriva lor cu aia.
Go off of what I see.
When Homeboy had said that he doesn't believe in data or statistics, I don't think it was a subtle eye roll. I definitely got whiplash.
How else do you make a point that is professional and mature if you're not citing data and you're not citing research and you're calling it all bullshit? That scrapped all of his credibility for me. You're talking about kids.
Același om, dar eu nu mai pot să-l iau în serios pe omul ăsta. Același om care a venit și a zis, deci omul a zis, nu mă interesează statistici, da? Mă interesează doar ce văd. Și ce vede el e fata asta care a venit și a zis, bro, mie nu-mi lisește nimic. Și a zis, nu e adevărat. Bro, tu mai... Oh my God. Mă tiltez. Chiar mă tiltez.
Gay parents and you're saying that they're all these things and I, the person you're talking about, am sitting here telling you you're wrong and you're
Exact.
still interrupting me and you're still invalidating me and you're still telling me that your opinion must be right even though you're not in my shoes. That was really shocking.
Yeah, I wanted to respond to some earlier points.
Classic de dreapta.
We've been talking a lot about what is natural, what is order. I'd like to say that there are many studies of over 1,500 non-human species of animals that they parent in their species children that are not biologically theirs. I also don't think that reproduction is the end-all be-all of what a family is to be.
I agree.
You're allowed to have your own biblical beliefs. I totally understand that and respect that. What you're talking about with sustainability, I'm not suddenly going to tell all the straight people to suddenly partner up with people of the same sex and no longer reproduce. It's a minority of people that are queer that do want to have children. And
Și chiar și așa, nu există niciun studiu care să dovedească că copiii care vin din same-sex parenthood are more likely to be homosexual. Pentru că ce crezi? That's not a fucking choice, bro. You either are or you're not. And if you are și ești pus într-un environment în care ți se explică că lucrurile astea sunt normale, you're more likely to accept it. Ceea ce înseamnă că sure.
I just think that they should be allowed to have children, and I don't think that they are depriving the children of anything. Because I think the foundation of what a family should be is to provide a child with love and support and raise them into respectable, upstanding citizens. I think it's important to have masculine energy, to have feminine energy, to have any other energy that there is. I just don't think that that is necessarily the job of the parents to incorporate these gender roles into it.
Are we able to qualify something before the next one?
May I respond to Elizabeth?
No, reset.
I need to know
Reset.
Look it up. I think we all do.
Bye.
It's necessary for parents to have open dialogue about sex with their children.
Yes.
Man, hell no.
A zis ceva hell no? Ce surpriză că negrul ăla a rămas
I do
acolo.
believe it's necessary, but I believe you have to do it at an appropriate age. But once they're ready, then I think you should have those conversations so that they don't have to go outside the family for that information.
I agree.
I never felt comfortable going to my parents at all, or my mom. I never felt comfortable going to her. I would like to create a space for my child, which I have, where I hope that no matter what happens in her life, that she feels comfortable going to me at least, and then I will help her.
Singurul contraargument pe care l-am în legătură cu asta, adică sure, nu o să te duci la un copil de 6 ani să explici și la sex cum se fac copiii și whatever. Gen în detaliul ăla pe care le-ai explicat unui copil de 15 ani. Dar cred că este important ca un copil, indiferent de vârstă, mai ales din momentul în care începe să aibă interacțiuni cu lumea externă, și nici măcar, până și cu familia extinsă, să înțeleagă lucrurile astea ca să știe dacă ceva ce se întâmplă este normal sau nu, și acum mă refer mai mult sau mai puțin la sexual abuse. E plin, lumea e plină de ratați, de pedofili, bine plină, exagerez evident, dar e important ca un copil să știe ce e greșit și ce nu. Care este cel mai comun lucru, cel mai comun argument la copiii care sunt molestați? Credeam că așa e normal, m-am mințit că dacă zic cuiva o să intru și eu în probleme, nu știu ce, toate manipulări care pun presiunea asta și pe copil ca să se asigure că lucrurile astea nu ies la suprafață, din simplu fapt pentru că copilul nu știe în totalitate că ce se întâmplă nu e normal și nu e deloc vina lui. Multe din victimele de la sexual abuse au o victimizare internalizată și pentru mult timp consideră că e vina lor că s-a întâmplat ce s-a întâmplat. De ce? Pentru că nu sunt suficient de educați să înțeleagă complet că ce se întâmplă este absolut vina unui adult sau unui alt om mai mare. A vile human, an evil Knievel, bro.
Her or together will determine if she's actually ready for the conversation, and hopefully she is.
I definitely agree with you. I think it's so important to be able to have a
Wait, what the fuck?
dialogue
Why is she crying?
kids feel like they can come
Why is she crying, bro?
to you and not necessarily enforcing that you have to come to me for this. One thing is like when it's much younger.
I'm really sorry.
Do you want to talk about it?
I just haven't been told I was raised wrong in a long time.
Ok. Credeam că o să zic, acum să vină lumea să zică, bro, plângi pentru că nu ești balansată, că ai fost crescută de 2 tați, plângi ca o femeie, deși n-ai avut o mamă.
There's just a lot of trauma associated with this.
I can imagine the amount of bullying she went through by having 2 fathers. Dacă ar fi ăsta argumentul celor de dreapta, să zică, da, nu cred că un copil ar trebui să fie crescut de 2 tați, pentru că asta înseamnă că copiii la școală și-ar bate joc de ei. Nu cred că trebuie să vă explic de ce ăsta e un argument greșit. But funny, nu? Eram 2 copii și aveam 2 mame. Eram 2 copii și aveam 2 tați. Mi-am luat o portocală și mi-a venit melodia în cap. Ei, dispar, unde ai fost până acum? Plânge fata asta aici.
And it's not trauma for my family, it's trauma from people telling me it's wrong. I know my family is right, and I know my family is normal. I didn't know it. I didn't know my family was not normal until other people decided to tell me that.
Preach.
That was nobody else's business to say that.
No one else's business.
Absolutely not.
And this is my biggest fear for my 2 daughters. For me, I feel like I have to prepare them as much as humanly possible for that outside world that can tell you that you're wrong or that your family is wrong, because that's one of my biggest fears.
I don't think anybody said wrong, but
A lot of people say
Nu! Am dat back din greșeală. Ce credeți că urmează? Nu cred că a zis nimeni că e wrong, bro. E pur și simplu ceva ce internalizezi tu, că știi că e greșit. Știi ce zic?
or that your family is wrong, because that's one of my biggest fears.
I don't think anybody said wrong, but
A lot of people say
I
it's
grew up
wrong.
in a less than ideal family. A less than ideal, I think, is where, as
But there was
humans,
nothing
right?
less ideal about her situation.
No, this is what she's hearing, though. This is what she
That's what
is
we're all
perceiving that
hearing,
she's
though.
hearing.
I'm
you know?
hearing it too. I'm hearing the invalidation of her family, of the structure. She got a two-parent household right now. Most heterosexual families end up in divorce. We don't.
Also, every single
We don't.
screwed up person I know has a mom and a dad.
We don't end up.
Same. I mean, look at me, bro. No, I agree. I agree.
Every single screwed up
Valid.
person has a mom and a dad.
Absolutely.
I've met nobody royally screwed up with two moms and two dads. That's that.
And honestly, most gay kids' parents are straight. We come from y'all.
Well, they all have to.
Well,
Biologically.
Well, no,
They all-
not necessarily. No, not the adopted
Unless you're
kids,
having, but they
kids or
all
the other
came
queer
from a
kids.
straight relationship.
But our parents are heterosexual.
No, I'm biologically related to one of my dads. My brother is biologically related to the other, and they had us via egg donation and surrogacy. So there's still a biological connection in my house, but and I'm glad I have that connection. But I also have one of my dads who has straight parents was adopted, and it it just biology doesn't necessarily mean anything, and I wish people would stress it less.
Plus că să zici, familiile gay care adoptă, da, bro, că familiile străine n-adoptă niciodată.
Because that's where a lot of the hate comes from is, if you're gay, clearly something's wrong. If you have two dads, clearly something is wrong with you. And we automatically assume that children like me, or people like my parents aren't as good as purely because they're different.
Nobody said that.
No one said it in this room, but the world says it. And that's not fair.
I agree.
Let's everyone just take a breath, just take a moment.
I would also say that from a young age, we can talk about things that are involved with sex ed, but not explicitly sex. For instance, consent is a very important topic that
My point.
should be brought up.
Fix ce ziceam mai
as soon
devreme.
as possible.
I agree.
We mentioned before about the case of you don't have to hug your uncle if you don't want to, or
I
hey,
agree.
do you want help cleaning that mess up or something. I think those are inherently part of good sex education, but they're not explicitly about sex.
I agree.
I think growing up, I didn't have much social media, so I never saw this stuff. But I go on Instagram now. Every just so many posts, so many stories are just about all these things about sex, consent, and it can really go both ways, right? There's extremes on both sides, but the age that it starts at, you should really just encourage your kid to you should tell them the bare minimum, the biological standard, right? There's two biological sexes, stuff happens, but really let them do their own research and encourage them to research both sides rather than just mainly
What
pushing their
age
ideas.
are you saying?
Whenever they get social media, whenever they first hear about it and they have any questions about it. So I grew up with religious and conservative parents, but they never made it clear that those two parts of my identity were the only things that were to rule my entire lifestyle. So what I mean by that is, growing up, I would hear about politics. Whenever I would ask them a question about it, they never made it clear what their stance on it was because they wanted me to explore both sides. Whenever I ask them questions, they always tell me to explore the thing first, go on Google, research,
I agree.
different sources, and then we can have a discussion once I've really been truly informed.
If we're empowering
That's a good and smart way to raise your children. I'm actually taking notes. S-a mai adăugat încă ceva la lista mea de părinte.
them to do their own research, they can get into the very wrong sides of doing that research. For instance, most people I know got their sex ed from porn, and if we're talking about sex and consent, I don't think anyone in this room is thinking that porn is a great example of sex ed.
I agree.
My son I definitely caught my son watching porn, and he's 14 years old, and it was a conversation. And I didn't shame him, but if this is already happening, what do I look like coming at him and reprimanding him and telling him this is a boundary, or we don't do this in this house because you're going to go to all this action? It's no, this is already happening. So if now I'm just now finding out about it. So now there's a communication and we actually had a whole on conversation about why this isn't real and why this is not okay for you. You're going to be an adult the rest of your life, honey. Be a 14-year-old right now. And he's like, you're right, Mom. Nah, don't worry about it again. You're probably still sneaking and watching porn. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be able to stop that. I'm going to be able to communicate with him and do the best I can do. That's all we can do as
See, but
parents.
that's good because you told him.
Uite, sincer, m-a emoționat un pic povestea, nu știu de ce. Probabil pentru că it brings up ceva din copilăria mea, dar nu sunt la terapie aici. Dar m-a emoționat un pic.
So I have a son and a daughter. My son is almost 7, my daughter's 4. So, you know, I don't like to keep them, like if one's showering, the other's in their room, and vice versa. But one thing I guess I stepped forward for was mostly because we use the word penis, we use the word vagina. I want them to know their anatomy. I want them to know that this is what you have. This is your, nobody touches this, nobody sees it other than you.
Yes.
Or like if I'm giving you a shower or helping
Despre
you
asta
with your
vorbeam.
bed, like,
I agree.
things like that. You know, I learned.
Sunt de acord că copiii trebuie să știe chestiile astea din timp, ca să știe în caz că li se întâmplă ceva, să știe că acel ceva nu e normal și că trebuie să anunțe și că ca să știe că ce se întâmplă nu e vina lor, ca să știe că ce se întâmplă nu e ceva ce a fost cauzat de ei și e din cauza unor adulți de căcat. I completely agree.
Sex.
Asta nu înseamnă că trebuie să le explici ce înseamnă sex, ce înseamnă poziții, ce înseamnă oral, ce înseamnă nu știu ce. Trebuie doar să le explici ce înseamnă consimțământ, ce înseamnă zone intime, ce înseamnă chestii și chestii.
From boys being gross in class. I didn't know how anything worked, and that's kind of because, like you said, you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. I didn't have that. I wasn't comfortable asking my mom or my dad, like, what is this? They probably should have been the ones to educate me first. Probably wouldn't have became a teen parent, but...
Măcar, ok.
I only hung back because I agree and I disagree. Like for me, it was very interesting. I have mom and dad. My mother's a very very Latin woman. So it's kind of funny that...
Coai, v-ați învățat acum când zice salut și bună, puneți mai multe de alea ca să nu vă mai răspundă Streamlabs?
She was the one who I talked to about sex more than my dad. I don't think I've ever said more than 2 words to my dad up until this day about sex. So for my daughter, I almost kind of want to mirror that for obvious reasons. I mean, that might just be a better conversation for her mom to have with her. I mean, I'm willing to have a conversation, but I also feel a little bit uncomfortable at the same time. Maybe that has to do with my past. I don't know. But yeah, I think the younger people here have it so incredibly difficult and so incredibly easy just because they have everything available to them at the same time. Where like me, you, like you over there, like we have to figure stuff out from like, you know, blurry VHS tapes or like slow internet downloads and stuff like that. So it's very like I'm not jealous of you guys at all.
That's fair. That's fair to say that I might not feel comfortable talking to my daughter about intercourse. Right. That's completely. It was way easier for me to talk to my son about how bitches are. Like, look, you're good at basketball, you know what I'm saying? Or you're good at athletics and whatnot. Like, I know how women are going to be.
When it comes to courting, yeah, like I could talk to her probably a lot.
Okay, to be fair, that sounds kind of misogynistic. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds kind of misogynistic, bro. Ain't she like? Doesn't she have like a woman? Doesn't she have like a wife? Oh, that's kind of weird.
I said disagree because of the word necessary. I don't think that it's necessary. You know, everyone's watched Animal Planet.
My God.
Teaches the
Asta este shitty conservative in becoming, bro. Watch me. În 5 ani de acum încolo o să fiu unul dintre cei mai șmecheri conservatiști, conservatori, whatever. Coaie, le place, bă, că le place căcatul ăsta cu optimal, că le place să se joace cu cuvintele în felul ăsta, să zică, nu știu dacă e necesar, nu știu dacă e optim, dar de ce nu? Coaie!
The lion cubs, how to have sex or what to do. I think it's ingrained in all of us. I think it's just something that is the result of evolutionary biology. My dad was a very strong masculine figure in my life, and he was always there for me. But I never had the birds and the bees talk. I never had it. I went through puberty. I felt all the things that young boys feel going through puberty. I used my eyes and I looked around the world. I talked to my friends like curious kids do, and we figured it out. And we kind of knew what was going on. But something you said actually made me think and almost reconsider if I made the right choice. And that was about pornography. Because this is a very big issue, and it's very pervasive in our society today. The average age of first exposure to pornography in this country.
Porn, bad, porn, immoral. Don't watch porn, it brings out the worst in humans.
Is 11. And some social scientists are saying that it's getting younger every year. To keep people viewing, to keep the dopamine hits coming to these viewers, these young viewers, it's escalating behaviors. It's rape, it's incest, it's aggression. It is these horribly violent behaviors that they're learning for the first time. You know, by 18 years old, it's over 90%
Okay, I
of
agree.
boys have seen porn.
I agree with that. I agree cu faptul că problema nu e de porn. Problema este modul în care comunici și discuți cu copilul tău, bro. Atâta timp cât ai o discuție și înțelege că lucrurile astea nu sunt normale și nu sunt whatever. Plus că, acum să o ducem și pe partea altă un pic, sure, nu cu un copil de 11 ani, dar noi putem să vorbim între noi ca adulți și noi ca adulți și astea. Some people are into that. Nici asta nu e ceva greșit.
60% for young women. And that is something that we have to recognize. I think it is good to have some discussions about this. But I also think that this ties back to why it's important to have a two-parent home.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about telling your kids what is right. Kids are very visual learners. And so when they see your mother and father interacting with each other in a loving, nurturing way, they internalize.
Poți face asta și cu the same sex parent, cu aia. Și doi părinți de same sex poate să se iubească și să se îmbrățișeze și să pupe și să se sărute și să facă aceleași lucruri pe care le fac doi părinți normali în ghilimele. What do you mean?
They see that and they in turn go out and they treat other people like that, whether that's their girlfriend or boyfriend. And so that's, I think, one of the big values of having a two-parent, two-sex home.
I think being honest, because even being conservative, I think we can be a little hypocritical, like we're so perfect and we have this perfect family, but it's like, no, your mama was a hoe. Yeah, you know, your dad used to sniff coke, you know, so we're not perfect. And just being honest and transparent and seeing, you know, certain things in our children and being able to address those things in a timely manner. So I don't think that it's necessary for my kids' age to talk about sex. And I would rather them just for now see the intimacy between a mother and a father before I drop that ball, you know.
Yeah, again, the intimacy can be between a father and a father as well, or a mother and a mother. Știu că dacă ești o persoană homofobă, să zicem, I mean, to be fair, și asta care e queer parent, a zis niște căcaturi super dubioase, whatever. Adică nu whatever, dar nu despre asta vorbim aici. Dacă tu ești o persoană homofobă și te gândești la doi bărbați îmbrățișându-se și iubindu-se cum te-ai iubit tu cu o femeie sau tu cu un bărbat și te gândești la doi bărbați făcând ce faci tu cu persoana de sex opus și te gândești cu scârbă la asta sau cu dezgust sau cu... Te simți inconfortabil, nu? Hai să zicem, poate nu e un sentiment atât de puternic, poate nu e dezgust, dar poate te simți inconfortabil, știi? Normal că atunci când o să te gândești la un copil care vede chestiile astea, o să te gândești că mamă n-are valorile care trebuie setate pentru că gen, eu mă gândesc la valorile alea și mă dezgustă. Dar un copil nu o să fie dezgustat de asta, o să vadă aceeași iubire pe care o vede între o mamă și un tată, între doi tați. Nu că
Children should strive to meet their parents' expectations.
Și eu sunt super de acord, super gen, depinde de atât de multe lucruri, că gen, există situații în care părinții pun expectations unfair față de copil și ar fi super unfair să strive towards those expectations. Există situații în care expectation-ul poate sunt fair, dar nu e ceva ce vrea să facă copilul, adică ca și cum ai zice, da, ești destul de deștept să ajungi doctor, dar de ce vrei să fii inginer? Eu vreau să fii doctor. Știi ce zic? Adică sunt niște căcaturi la mine, nu poți să zici doar atât, nu poți să fie doar asta întrebarea.
Right, like that's a valid question. What are those expectations? Do we expect our kids to be rocket scientists as soon as they're born? Probably not. If it's like good, upstanding citizens who love and respect their family and their friends, I think so. And I'm sure there are some children of immigrants here who probably have a very high standard expected of them from the day that they were born or the day that they moved to this country.
And that's one thing I wish Asian American households like changed. We should always be expecting improvement. I think that's the one thing that parents should always be putting on their kids. Thing is, I was really bad at math. Like I did not learn how to add positive and negative numbers until like 7th, late 8th grade, which is really, really bad. Okay, especially for an Asian.
That's kind of racist, but sure.
It doesn't matter where your kid starts. You should always be encouraging them to improve. You don't set quantitative standards for them. Saying,
I agree. I fully agree with this.
Get an A on this, get B on this. What you should be encouraging is, oh, you got a C? Try to get C plus, B.
That's such a good take. Yes.
Small steps are what gets your kid there.
I don't want to I agree.
Raise
a child that is reckless. Like, okay, well, you have the freedom, be yourself, express yourself, do whatever you want. And then, she comes home, 16 and pregnant. I'm like, you did this and blah, blah, blah. Well, Dad, you didn't tell me anything. So the expectations isn't to be perfect.
Normal că a pus camera la asta care a fost teen mamă.
But just take a little
Jubilee doing them dirty, man.
little bit of the things that she's learned, that they've learned from their mom and dad, and utilize them in their life to the best of their abilities. And if they can do that, I'm happy with it. My parenting style, I feel,
I agree.
I would say it's strict, but it's not strict. Although my children aren't allowed to be exposed to certain things, they still have an amazing way of life because they get to do things with their mother and father.
I don't know if I agree with that, but sure.
Present while they're in their presence instead of scrolling on social media. And
okay, sure, I can agree with that.
Child could be needing you more than you think. So I pride myself on being as present as I can and setting that strong foundation for my children.
I think it's also important to teach your kids that the expectation you're setting for them and those goals that you're setting for them isn't for you, it's for them. And that's something really important that my parents taught me was that here are the goals, here's what we expect out of you, but at the end of the day, your successes are your own and your failures are your own. And one day, mom and dad aren't going to be here, and you're going to have only yourself to look to for your accomplishments. And so it's setting the goals and setting the bar, but then making them realize this is all you. The ball's in your court, and your life is in your hands. It's not in ours.
The expectation that I have is just there's
Cu o limită. Asta într-o lume ideală în care copiii sunt crescuți balansați și li se oferă toate oportunitățile să crească cum trebuie să fie crescuți. Știi ce zic? Eu nu poți să zici, hei, asta depinde doar de tine și după aia să-i cauzezi 60 de traume care nu-i mai permite să fully develop.
The best person that they could be. And I think that's the same for every parent. I mean, that's the goal and the wish that your child is happy and healthy and content of who they are and what they're doing. And of course, I'm going to push them to take the next step, and I'll always push them. But, I think that expectation is a valid one.
I agree.
I agree with a lot of the stuff you guys were saying, but the reason I didn't fully step forward was I immediately thought of my parents. And my parents both grew up in conservative homes and were told that they should, the whole goal was to go to college, get a wife, and have kids. If my parents met the expectation that they were going to get married and have a wife and have kids, one, they might have killed themselves and not been here today. Two, I definitely wouldn't have been here. My brother wouldn't have been here. So it can't be the end-all be-all to meet your parents' expectations.
My parents are immigrants from India, and their expectation for me is to accomplish the American dream, to blend into white society, to blend into rich American society. They placed me from the age of 5 in a all-boys school until the age of 15, and their expectation was for me to blend in. I'm sorry, I can't meet that. I'm a woman. I'm not going to meet your expectation of going to an all-boys school. I don't think that's me doing something wrong there. That's me just living my truth. But there's other expectations that I think are very appropriate for them to have me meet. They want me to go to a good college. They want me to succeed and be happy and accomplish my dreams. And I think those are all wonderful, but I think it's not so black.
Yes, I agree. Asta a fost și primul meu gând când am auzit întrebarea.
Elementary schools should teach students about sexual orientation and gender identity.
Here we go. Nu mă surprinde.
I don't think they should
Nu mă surprinde cine a stat în față și cine nu.
Or college level gender classes, but I think they should be taught that these kinds of people exist in the world, and you will grow up in a world where you need to love and respect these people.
Și nu doar atâta, în care e posibil ca tu să fii unul dintre acele persoane și e normal să fii unul dintre acele persoane și nu trebuie să te ascunzi și trebuie să te accepti și să te iubești pentru cine ești. Nu este o problemă dacă ești homosexual, nu este o problemă dacă ești trans, nu e o problemă dacă nimica. Argumentul de pumnica. Singurul motiv pentru care în ziua de azi există mai mulți homosexuali e pentru că sunt mai expuși la chestia asta, este doar pe jumate adevărat. În sensul în care singurul motiv motiv pentru care există mai mulți homosexuali în ziua de azi e pentru că sunt expuși la asta, pentru că ei erau by default homosexuali, doar că acum au aflat că e ok să fii homosexual și au zis, ok, e timpul să mă accept pentru cine sunt în bună mea. Sau e normal că sunt mai mulți homosexuali, dar în același timp sunt mai mulți copii cu ADHD, sunt mai mulți copii autiști, sunt mai mulți, nu sunt mai mulți, sunt tot la fel, doar că acum e mai ușor să-i detectezi.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wrong to say about homosexual, but still.
For me, that just looks like having a book in the classroom that is about a two-dad family, or is about someone discovering that they like to wear dresses, and then maybe that disagrees with what they were born as. You know, just something like a children's book, or just some kind of picture on the wall that represents that. It doesn't have to be anything beyond that. That's not age appropriate. You know, this doesn't involve gay sex education or hormone therapy, or like if we're talking like elementary school kids, it's just representation, like just putting it on everyone's radar.
I agree.
At its core, it's not about you have to agree with this and this is an agenda. It's about you can agree with this, you can disagree with this, but you need to respect it.
I agree.
You know, growing up, I didn't have those books. I was questioning myself if I'm normal. You know, if there's something wrong with me, why do I have these feelings? Is this correct? Because I never had a conversation with my parents. My parents are straight. My whole family is very conservative. So it was really difficult for me to accept myself because I didn't see the acceptance anywhere else.
It's the exact same thing as different cultures, different religions. It's just another diverse area that you need to be exposed to.
And it's like me being okay with schools being taught heterosexual relationships. Like, I'm okay with that. That's something part of the world, of course. Like,
I didn't get any education from it from school. And, you know, kids use, like, that's gays. Like, you're gay. Like, as a derogatory, you know? So for me, it could be as simple as, like, this girl has 2 dads. My kids have 2 moms. Simple.
I agree. I agree. Yes, vedem ce mizerii.
Okay, so you made a statement just now that where you said you think it should just be like this exists and not go any further. So I think my problem with the school system teaching our children these things is that it doesn't just stop there. And also, what if your boundary is different from her boundary, from his boundary, from everybody's boundary is a little bit different, right? As parents.
Absolutely.
So I don't think the schools understand that. And I don't think government schools
Yes, but schools don't understand that about anything, nu doar despre asta. De ce la altele nu pui limite și când vine vorba de homosexualitate pune limite? Da, o să-i dăm copilului nostru să citească The Lord of the Flies sau cine știe ce altă mizerie care pune la îndoială guvernul, pune la îndoială alte mizerii, tot felul de chestii, mega big brain, mega nu știu ce, da, e ok, o să ne punem copilul să citească Romeo și Julieta, care e despre 2 adolescenți care se iubesc pentru că nu se pot iubi în pula mea. That's care se sinucid pentru că nu se pot iubi. That's ok. E ok când vine vorba de limitele mele, e ok ca copilul meu să citească asta și să știe despre asta. Dar 2 homosexuali cu aia... Când o să-mi respecte școlile limitele? Ok, bro, sure.
Really should be raising our children, which they are now, right?
Sure.
We should be really raising our own children. And if we have to put our children in a public school, hopefully they're learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, and the social things, and the cultural things, and the religious things that are valuable to each one of us should come from inside our household. My approach with parenting is to be very loving, very tender, a very good role model. Some people would say I do some attachment parenting because we still sleep in the same bed, but really it's for a number of reasons, and 1 being safety, and 2 being it's more fun than being across the house from my daughter when we're the only 2 people in the house. We just have a very tender, loving relationship. I wanted to make sure that I cultivated that in my relationship with my child, because I felt like I grew up without that tenderness and that love and that security in my household. So I wanted to make sure that I provided that for my daughter, no matter what.
Și legătura asta cu...
Okay, I'm so sorry to keep bringing this up. I don't want to like trauma bond or anything, but like you didn't have a good relationship with your parents. You weren't able to go and talk to them about sex or your period or things like that.
Correct.
Where was the best place to get that information other than school, sex ed, for you?
That's a great point. And I'm glad you brought that up. I wish that my parents were open and communicative. I had a similar situation to you. And so I ended up learning it from my friends So friends and magazines and VHS tapes, somebody mentioned, like you learn about these things other ways, but still it should come from the family, I believe.
It should.
It
Always,
should come
though.
from the family. Because I can almost guarantee that every single person here, and anybody who's a parent or just has a parent, we all have a different idea of what we want our children to learn and not learn about these particular social constructs and sex in general.
We exist. That's the thing, we exist.
Is sexual orientation a construct?
I want to add on to that.
No.
So I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying when you guys are up here about representation. We should be teaching our kids that people of different sexualities, family types, they exist. But when you have one entity, one curriculum, one school, one government, when you have only one entity teaching a thing that can go both ways in a lot of different directions, there's a lot of room for bias. Like, I want my kids, when I grow up, I want them to know that.
Ok, that's a good take și înțeleg de unde vine din simplu fapt de cum a fost crescută, că ziceam mai devreme. I get it, sure, I understand. That's a good point. Faptul că dacă cineva învață, adică, spre exemplu, dacă am trăit într-o lume mult mai conservativă în sexe, s-ar explica că nu e normal să fii homosexual. Și că acum că trăim într-o lume mai liberală, oarecum, se învață că e ok să fii homosexual. Deci totul depinde de cine setează acel sistem de învățare. Și nu e ca și cum e black and white, cum e matematica 2 + 2 = 4, bro, și nimeni nu poate să conteste asta. Ok, nu vreau să intru în subiectul, dar sunt oameni care contestă și asta. E ok, whatever. Dar gen, I get it. Înțeleg, I get where she's coming from. That's actually smart.
That these different things exist, but in school it's just so hard to regulate what's going on, and I see news stories all the time about these children's books. There's one book about teaching, I don't know the name, but...
Coai, sincer, chiar m-a lovit un pic asta. M-a lovit un pic argumentul ăsta. Chiar e singurul, coai, dacă ar veni toți ăștia de dreapta și mi-ar da argumentul ăsta, acum pe moment n-aș avea niciun contraargument să le zic, ok, n-ai dreptate pentru că. Singurul argument pe care l-am e, da, n-ai dreptate pentru că momentan învață ceva ce eu consider că e normal. Dar gen, no, I get it. Yeah, sure.
It's about a girl
That's
exploring
a
her
fair
sexuality.
argument.
In the book, it literally says her friend said, maybe you should try tasting your vaginal discharge to see if you like it or not. And the thing is, nobody's advocating for this stuff. At least I hope not. But do you see? It can get out of hand so quickly. So
That's
it's
understandable.
when it's hard to regulate.
But again, in schools, it is curriculum, so it wouldn't be anything outside of.
But it was being taught in the curriculum.
Yeah.
Like the students were being
book?
yes.
These books are
Students
in
were
the
reading
classroom.
it.
I think some teachers be wilding out and bringing in their
And
own
the authors,
personal
and the
stuff that's not
authors,
supposed to
yeah.
be in the curriculum. That shit sounds
Absolutely
wild.
not.
Like, that sounds
We
wild.
forget
I agree.
that, we talk about, the school system and all that stuff, but we forget that these teachers are people too.
A lot of these teachers are my age. They're young.
Exactly. Like, so my
I can
daughter, when
understand
she
that.
went into kindergarten, her teacher was amazing, great. She loved my daughter, treated her very, very well. But the first time I went I think it was back to school, not a parent-teacher conference, there was literally, the whole classroom was surrounded with rainbows. And I'm like, rainbow pencils, rainbow ABCs, rainbow. I'm like, okay, we need to know our colors. They need to know their colors. That's cool. But it went from like, okay, you're teaching them to,
Okay,
what
bro.
is this? Like, I don't care if you are gay or whatever you.
Was she a gay educator too?
No.
You're pushing an agenda, bro. You have rainbows in a kindergarten. What are you trying to teach my children? You're trying to teach them gay stuff because you have rainbows. You need to learn your colors, but there's a limit, bro. You cannot learn all the colors so quick. The ABC Mafia, cum ar zice Jordan Peterson. The ABC Mafia is attacking again, bro.
No, she was married, had kids. I don't know if her kids were or anything like that, but it just was like, what are you trying to do? It just.
Până și mai devreme, gen totul la el se rezumă la agenda. Mai devreme l-a întrebat pe asta, hei, dacă sunteți gay și adoptați pentru o agendă, acum ce încerci să faci cu copiii mei?
It felt weird. I think some.
Yeah,
No, but
That's
no, absolutely not. But I mean, for a 50-year-old woman to have 1,000 rainbows in the classroom, when I grew up and there was maybe 1 or 2 or 3.
Așa.
What's the?
It is a bit excessive, dar ce legătură asta cu... Oh, no, man.
The fact that it was thought that because there was rainbows in the classroom that was pushing agenda to these kids is just ludicrous to me.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. What do you mean, bro? Gen acum, sure, gen, decât să consider, dacă ar fi avut 1000 de smiley face-uri, n-ar mai zice nimic, ar zicea că e cam excesiv, sună dubios. Așa că 1000 de rainbows, și într-un kindergarten, gen, nu e chiar să zici out of context, știi? Sunt de acord că e absolut, gen, să zicem că numărul era real și sunt 1000 de rainbows. Yeah, that's fucking weird, dar nu e gen, oh my god, bro.
To think that a queer person, whether they're a parent or not, has a particular agenda to push
În grădiniță. I'm pushing this, my LGBTQ propaganda in grădiniță, bro.
LGBTQ community on other people is just ridiculous. And it really, it triggered something in me.
I agree.
I bit my tongue during that time.
When I was in 5th grade, I had a gay teacher. We all knew he was gay.
Okay.
We all loved him.
Okay.
And I also had a classmate with 2 moms.
Okay.
And the teacher recognized.
He was the weird kid.
Said this student has 2 moms. That's perfectly fine. We're not going to go any further than that.
Okay,
recognizing
that's
and
great.
seeing the student and telling them that they're safe here. The problem today is what you were talking about, is that it's not just recognition, it's almost indoctrination.
Oh my God.
It's taking it past just showing people that, yes, you exist and I recognize you. I took sex ed in 5th grade too, and it was very simple. It was the boys went in one classroom with the male teachers, and the girls went into another classroom with the female teachers.
Și ce mă deranjează cel mai mult la poveștile ăstora? Că nu-mi dau exemple cu aia. Care e exemplu? Gen, nu poți doar să vii să zici căcaturi. Acum nu mai este doar educație, este îndoctrinare. Ok, dă-mi un exemplu de îndoctrinare. Dă-mi un exemplu de ce consideri tu îndoctrinare cu aia. Nu poți doar să vii să zici căcaturi. Gen, vreau niște exemple ca să-mi dau seama dacă chiar așa e sau nu e așa. Odată m-am certat cu o fostă prietenă de-a mea și îmi zicea, da bro, că așa e cu ăștia din LGBTQ, că ea nu știa, gen, avea fix argumentul ăla, din LGBT whatever, că nu știu ce litere au mai adăugat. Așa mi-a zis cu aia, cuvânt cu cuvânt, că ce părere ai de ăștia care vin și te ceartă pe stradă că you misgender them. Și zic cu aia, stai un pic, dacă te anunță și zice, hei, prefer să mi se zică ea în loc de el, și tu tot o faci și nu gen dacă o faci din greșeală, sunt niște limite, sunt niște contexte acolo. Dar cred că toată lumea, inclusiv oamenii din comunitatea LGBTQ, poate să admită că nu e normal în pula mea, genul ăsta de comportament nu e normal. Gen dacă mă duc la cineva pe stradă și îi zic el în loc de ea, când să zicem că dintr-o perspectivă a construcției societății arată ca un el. Și eu mă duc și zic el. Și zice, cum îndrăznești, sunt un eu, identifies. Ok, sure, that's not fucking normal, bro. That's absolutely not normal. Și cred că toată lumea poate să fie de acord cu asta. Când face scandal, gen dacă vine cineva și zice, ei sunt un ea și tot îi zici în continuare el, gen cu răutate și cu adevărul din greșeală și face scandal, atunci pe bun merit. Asta clar. Așa și cu asta. Nu poți să vii să zici, să dai argumente de-astea. Acum nu mai este vorba despre educație, este vorba despre îndoctrinare. Ok, bro, prove it. Arată-mi, dă-mi exemple și o să zic dacă e normal sau nu. Dacă tu vii și mi-arăți cum profesorii tăi îți învață copiii, profesorii copiilor tăi învață că trebuie să fie homosexuali, că așa este dată la Dumnezeu homosexualilor, atunci ce da cu aia? Asta e îndoctrinare. Știi ce e îndoctrinare? Îndoctrinare ce fac societățile heteronormative, să zică nu. Singurul mod este de la Dumnezeu, e tată cu mamă, de-aia nu mai plouă în Galați că se pupă popă cu popă. Astea sunt îndoctrinări în pula mea. Hai că m-am enervat.
We could ask questions about sex and questions about puberty. And other than that was kind of it. But now across this country, you're seeing these types of books that aren't just talking about the biology and the anatomy.
Show me one.
And teaching kids about procreation. It's talking about pleasure.
Oh no, they're talking about pleasure. How dare they?
It's pornographic material, and that has no place in the classroom.
Talking about pleasure.
Unfortunately, we're almost having to step back and have no sex education, which we want sensible sex education, because people are taking it so far. And my question...
But yeah, I agree. Gen, sunt de acord că trebuie să existe o limită. Deci, limita nu cred că ar trebui să fie plăcerea. Adică cred că e normal să vorbești despre plăcerile sexului. Dar, gen, sunt absolut de acord că dacă e o chestie de asta ar trebui să fie educație. N-ar trebui să fie, gen, o să-i dai să citească 50 Shades of Grey sau whatever. Sunt chestii absolut educative. Yes, I agree.
Question to those people that agreed is, why do you not think that parents can sufficiently and appropriately determine how and when they talk to their kids about sex? And why are these teachers so eager to talk to other parents' children about sex and gender ideology? I've literally traveled the country reporting on this indoctrination, on the drag queen story hour, on the transition closets, on the coming out day. And whether or not you agree with those, that's fine if you agree with them, but you have to also agree that your child is in a classroom with parents that feel very strongly about those issues, and that has to be left to the parent. It is not the teacher's job to say, today's coming out day, or to say that you can be called by this pronoun or this pronoun, or you can go in either classroom to talk about this anatomy or this anatomy. It's just not your job.
When it comes to pronouns, I feel like that teacher is creating a safe space for that child in case they do come home and they cannot come out to you guys.
That's what it comes down to. It's creating safe spaces for the children that aren't like
I didn't mean to point you guys out, but you both are very religious.
Right.
And I personally come from a very religious household. No offense, but I am uncomfortable as hell, you know, being
around Christians.
Not necessarily Christians, but people
Catholics. We can be pretty tough.
No, I don't mean to like make you guys feel
I
uncomfortable.
understand what you're saying because it's a two-sided coin.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like
it's a convenience to be Christian. I'm going to be Christian of the old covenant and not know what Christianity really means on the new covenant. And I know Christianity because I went to a ministerial school for 3 years. So you want to talk about the Bible, we can talk about it. But LGBT is not even talked about in the new covenant where Jesus Christ came and washed away my sins. And I'm a Christian.
Pause, because we do have to move on. I want to hear from Mike.
Oh, well, no, I was just going to say that, you know, my wife and I plan to homeschool for a multitude of
Christians
reasons.
can be gay?
We
No.
don't want the state involved in our child's education.
Denied by
there are
God.
a bunch of subjects we don't even think should be taught to begin with, like earth science. What the hell is that all about? But to point to Aldo's point, one of the reasons why, especially recently, why we decided this was because we went to our local school district's library, and those books absolutely exist. And we were told by the librarian that an 8 to 12-year-old can take those books out without their parents' permission. And these books, they're kind of like comic booky types. Some of them are, but some of them have extremely pornographic descriptions. Some of them have visual aids. Some of them talking about, hey, try a blowjob, see how it makes you feel. Some of them talking about fingering yourself. I'm absolutely not open to having my daughter look at that stuff, let alone even hear about it from other kids. And second of all, with the teachers in the classrooms, I feel like there is a larger subset of teachers who seem to have an agenda. This is just what I see optically, and it's just not something that I'm comfortable with. So,
Can I quickly ask Ra a question?
Classic agenda, bro. These liberals have an agenda, bro. They indoctrinate my child to be gay. Ok, contraargument. Acum 13 secunde, nu chiar 13 secunde, acum jumătate de oră vorbeau de cum accesul la porn este din ce în ce mai recent. A.k.a. zicea ăla că există studii că copiii de la 11 ani deja se uită la porn. Ok. Dacă copiii de la 11 ani deja se uită la porn, nu crezi că ar fi normal să poată să citească niște cărți care sunt în aceeași măsură cu porno? Și nu mă refer ca și cât de explicite sunt sau ca whatever, dar ceva care să poată să... Gen, nu poți să, pe o parte, să zici copiii de 11 ani se uită la rape și la incest și la agresiv porn și după aia să vii pe partea elaltă și să zici, da, educația ar trebui să fie strict despre anatomie. Punct.
You talked about creating a safe space for students with pronouns. Do you recognize that...
Coaie, omul n-a trecut. Omul n-a trecut. Deci a trecut cu totul peste subiectul ăsta. Omul acum vorbea, ălalaltul vorbea de cărți și de nu știu ce și ăsta s-a întors și a zis, da, about pronouns, bro.
Some parents that feel very strongly about these issues, that by these teachers creating these safe spaces for students and introducing all the students to the spectrum of gender ideology creates a dangerous space for that other child, that it's introducing them to an idea that the parents feel strongly about?
Do I think creating a safe space for queer and trans kids creates an unsafe place for straight kids? Absolutely not.
That the parents, no, that you recognize that the parents could feel that way, that the introduction of these ideas is not aligning with their values and it's not okay.
I agree 1,000% with homeschooling. I worked at LAUSD for 10 years and I've seen a lot of shit that goes on in the school district. I absolutely believe that it starts at home. And if you give your kids a good foundation at home, they should be able to have a little bit of a foundation when they go to school and recognize these different things. Like, oh, I don't agree with that. I don't get jiggy with that, but I'm not going to hate and disrespect the person that does. So because there are kids that are committing suicide, there are kids that are coming to school that come to school for safety, for food, not only just to learn about sex ed, but literally because they have no other place.
Okay, the fact that in America, mă gândesc cum să zic în română pentru că nu știu să o zic în engleză, gen nu știu să o formulez în engleză. În America există, pentru copii, pentru copii există datorii la cantină. That's insane to me. That's insane. That's insane, coaie. Oamenii termină școala generală și au datorii la cantină pentru mâncare, coaie. That's fucking... Și am un singur lucru de zis despre asta. Eat the rich. Eat the rich, bro.
know what to go to school for food in the morning.
What about the kid though who's made to feel out to be like a pariah? Let's say if there's one kid who's like, well, you know, that's maybe not what I believe with the pronouns or with any sort of
I'm that kid.
sexual...
I don't care about pronouns. Absolutely.
Right, exactly, sure. So now, today, I feel like...
Ok, iar. Vezi, despre asta vorbesc când zic că sunt argumentele astea duse la extrem. E o diferență între să nu crezi în ceva și să nu respecti în ce crede alt om. Adică, dacă există o persoană care nu crede în chestiile cu pronumele, da? Tot la rândul ei ar trebui să respecte dacă cineva crede în chestiile cu pronumele. Să zică, bro, eu nu cred în asta, dar o să-ți respect faptul că tu crezi în asta și o să zic ea în loc de el. Dacă eu nu cred în chestia asta și vin și zic tot el în loc de ea pentru că eu nu cred în chestia asta, that's disrespectful, ceea ce înseamnă că persoana aia la rândul ei poate să vină să fie înapoi disrespectful to me, because I'm disrespectful to them, în pula mea. Nu poți să vii să-mi zici, crezi că copiii ăștia sunt excluși? Da, sunt excluși pentru că ei la rândul lor exclud coaie.
who are probably going to be pariahed by their teacher, maybe if they're, you know, if he or she's a bad teacher, I don't know. But that's not necessarily inclusive or maybe a safe space for that one child, you know, may feel like I don't believe in any of this stuff.
It's not just about making the kids in the school feel safe, it's about educating the people that don't know how to treat other people outside of the school. So they can take that with them and respect people that are not inside the school.
Sure, e ce voiam eu să zic doar că altfel.
A child needs a spanking.
Oh no, please don't. Please nobody stays. Oh fuck. Oh. Cringe.
This is interesting because, ooh, let me get close.
Cringe.
I feel that every kid needs a spanking, though my wife and I have decided that we're not going to spank our kid. If that makes any sense. Like,
does.
I grew up being spanked, and I turned out all right.
Depinde să-ți dai seama ce are nevoie copilul tău, ce vrea copilul tău, ce știe copilul tău, ce are nevoie, cum are nevoie să se dezvolte copilul tău. Nu e suficient doar să zici ce a funcționat la mine, funcționează și la copilul meu, sau dacă mentalitatea aia pișată de uite că pe mine m-au bătut ai mei și n-am pățit nimic, uite ce bine am ieșit. Da, bro, ok. Am zis fix asta. Părinții mei m-au bătut and I turned out just all right, bro.
But I do think that spanking can be, or, you know, physical, what's the word? Physical discipline or physical correction can be useful, but yeah, not for mine.
The thing is, like, you can take this question both ways. There are cases where you should not spank a child, but I think about behaviors that have been ingrained, that have been enabled for a long time, that are terrible, and they should stop. I used to work at a tech summer camp, and there's this little girl who's just a demon. She would, like, go up to the Indian kids, say, "You're ugly, you're brown, you smell." Like, these are things that are enabled. A kid isn't born and has this hate towards Indian people, you know what I mean? So I think in a case like that, and when the mom came, she was just like, "Honey, you can't continue doing that. It's been enabled." So I think there are cases where the only way to get to the kid's head is by showing, like, extreme, like, concern, and, like, for some parents, you know, that can come through spanking, but I don't think it should be used for, like, mild cases, like you got to be on a test or something like that.
Right.
So.
Well, and what do? We mirror our parents' behavior. So because I grew up with, you know, my mom spanked me and my dad rarely did, but if he ever got to the point of a spanking, it happened. But I think that my first inclination when my daughter would have a tantrum would just almost kind of be like to either grab her really hard or to just think about, you know, this kid needs a spanking. And I used to tell my wife, I used to be like, just let me do it. Let me see what happens. But just kind of restrained ourselves.
That's normal behavior. You turned out just all right, bro. You you turned out fine.
And we just said, you know, we decided at first, and it may seem like a very, like, unconservative thing to say, but, like, yeah, we came to the decision we're not going to do that.
So for me,
that's fucking crazy. That's crazy, bro. Nu pot să... Yeah, kids need a spanking. Not mine, though. Not mine. The homosexual kids need a spanking.
I feel like our forms of discipline are more brutal in some senses because they're not really...
Băi, that's fucking crazy. Nu pot să trec peste, gen, nu pot să... Cum poți să zici asta ca și cum ar fi nimic, o nimica toată? Gen, yeah, kids need spanking. Not mine, though. Not mine. What do you mean? Scuze, prințule, te-am întrerupt. Sunt sigur că ai dat niște...
African American, I feel like our forms of discipline are more brutal in some senses because they're not really given with love. You know, I remember getting whoopings just for laughing too early in the morning on a Saturday watching cartoons.
Okay, that's...
You know, so because they're trying to...
Bro, nu știu cum să zic, but you've been abused, my guy. You're a victim. You've been abused.
Sleep. So I think that, like, when I spank my daughter, I always make sure she understands why she's getting the spanking. So it's not, you know, she touched something and then I, you know, get her. It's, hey, you know, you shouldn't climb that because you can fall and really hurt yourself. And then I leave the room and come back in.
Dar trebuie să te urci pe aia pentru că o să cazi și o să te lovești. Și mă întorc și s-a urcat iar pe aia, ce crezi? O să o lovesc eu decât să se lovească singură. De ce? Pentru că nu m-a ascultat. O să arăt eu ei. What do you mean, bro? What do you mean? Are niciun sens. Gen, you can fall and hurt yourself. So in order for you to not hurt yourself, I'm gonna hurt you myself. Okay, bro.
She's doing it. It's like, okay, you know, so the term that I've always used with her when I've given her spankings is, do you need understanding? And she's like, Daddy, I don't want understanding.
Honestly, this is a little hard to listen. I'm listening to trauma being depicted in real life, coaie. So, da, exact, doar că mai rău un pic.
Like, I don't want any understanding, but after I've spanked
I don't need any understanding, but after I spank her and I give her a minute, she gets it. She's like, oh, thank you, Daddy. You've taught me a valuable lesson today, my grandfather, my dear father. I appreciate the lessons you are teaching me today. I'm listening to trauma.
I'll give her a minute and then I'll come back in the room and say, all right, let's have a conversation.
Yikers, that sets some weird precedents for nici nu vreau să intru în...
Like, why did I spank you? Because, Daddy, I was climbing the ladder. What could have happened? I could have really fallen and hurt myself. So what do we not do? Climb the ladder if you're not there. It's done.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm saying, bro.
Hurt myself.
Uite-te la fața astea. That's exactly what I'm saying. She's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Și nu am spus, mi s-a infectat. Yeah, my point. Gen, cum te oprești? Îți zice cineva, hei, o să cazi de acolo, zici, mă doare în pulă. Și după aia chiar o cazi de acolo și zici, da, nu mai vreau să cad de acolo, bro. What he said? Oh my, he's actually depicting trauma to me, bro. He's depicting how he's, oh my god, that's fucked up.
Right. This goes back to the conversation we were having about expectations and trying to meet those expectations. And as a parent, if you set an expectation for your child that has to do with their safety and it's not met and you don't correct them, then that's actually not loving. Then that's actually not showing your child.
Asta e ce ziceam la început, cu cum un copil poate să înțeleagă ceva diferit din comportamentul tău. Spre exemplu, cum ăsta înțelege dacă nu ți-e bătaie de la părinții tăi pentru că nu-i asculți, înseamnă că nu te-au iubit. Asta a zis omul cu cuvintele lui. Sunt alți copii care n-ar înțelege asta din bătaia pe care o primești de la copiii lui. Unde lovește mama, crește, da, exact. Fix genul ăla de mentalitate. Eu încă nu pot să trec peste ce a povestit ăsta, negru ăsta. Că am uitat cum îl cheamă, nu zic negru ăsta într-un mod rasist, credeți-mă, chiar nu știu cum îl cheamă. Nu pot să cred că omul mi-a povestit cum fisa țipă, no daddy, please, I don't want any understanding. Că ia bătaie și după aia vine și are o discuție cu ea. That's, oh my god, I don't want any understanding.
Child, that there are consequences to the actions, and that'll lead them to doing the same behavior over and over again.
Da, bro, ce crezi? Consecințele pentru acțiunile lui sunt consecințele pentru acțiunile lui. Nu poți să mai adaugi și tu peste consecințele alea. Dacă consecințele pentru a te urca pe o scară sunt că o să cazi, atunci, dacă tu i-ai explicat și el cade, trebuie să-și asume. Ceea ce îl învață și accountability, de mic. Nu poți să adaugi tu peste consecințele lui și mai multe consecințe, ca să zici, nu doar că poți să cazi de pe scara asta, dar mai e și bătaie. Sau mai rău, cum fac unii părinți, după ce cade copilul, zice, ți-am zis și îl mai și bat după ce a căzut, deci așa a învățat lecția. Lasă-mă în probleme în pace. M-am spărat rău.
If you're constantly having to spank and use this extreme measure, then you're probably doing something else wrong that needs to be corrected first. So it does have to be used sparingly.
Bătaie de dresaj, nu educație. Yes, I kind of agree. Eu nici măcar câinele nu-l bat. Bătaie ruptă din rai, da, exact. Gen, îi mai dau cu papucul peste cur, îi mai dau cu ziarul, îi mai dau cu ce apuc. Adică nu-l bat la propriu, nu-l stau leg cu lanțul și-l bat. Dar gen, îl mai ating, dar gen, de ce? Pentru că e un câine și îl dresez, nu îl educ.
Latin household in Puerto Rican. And we got the switch, we got the belt, we got the hand, we got the fist, we got all of it.
You get the backhand with
we
the
got
rings.
we got the wooden spoon, we got all of it.
And we turned out just fine.
It was terrifying at times, honestly. And sometimes I didn't feel it was justified. Sometimes it was justified. But I didn't want to create an environment for my child where it was severe punishment that felt like they were so terrified of me that they weren't going to be able to be somewhat free, right? The punishment needs to fit the crime. If you look at the animal kingdom, I'll talk about that again, but they physically correct their young ones when there's danger, when they're out of line, and they teach them because verbalizing.
Da, pentru că de obicei, pentru că verbalizing doesn't always work because they're fucking animals, asta 1, și 2, că e ca mimo, l-am văzut un mimo odată. De ce oamenii n-au ca elefanții, spre exemplu, un sunet pentru hei, acolo sunt albine, să fugim? Și erau, bro, avem un sunet, este hei, acolo sunt albine, să fugim. Că suntem în stare să comunicăm, what do you mean? Așa și cu asta. I'm dying, bro. Și mai mult decât atâta, ok, fii atent. Sunt de acord. Dacă toate chestiile despre care ei vorbesc ar fi despre viață și moarte, cum de obicei este în regatul animalelor, aș înțelege să fii mai dur în pula mea, că este viață și nu e ceva ce poți să înveți consecințele, gen ori mori, ori nu. Când maimuțele și învață copiii ce trebuie să facă, nu și învață copiii ce... Nu sunt dur cu ei că îi învață să mănânce banane în pula mea, sunt dur cu ei când îi învață să se ferească de tigri și să nu cadă din copac. De ce? Pentru că asta ar însemna moartea. Dacă ar trebui să fiu dur cu copilul meu ca să mă asigur că nu moare, sure, în pula mea, aș fi dur cu copilul meu ca să mă asigur că nu moare. Pentru că ce crezi? Consecința aia nu e ceva din care poți să înveți, e o consecință finală. Da, așa să cazi de pe o scară, să te lovești la genunchi, nu, cu aia să-l batem. What do you mean?
It doesn't always work, and I think it should just be minor corrections. I don't think we should get into the realm of abuse, obviously, and also, I feel like these days you can't even touch your child without, somebody wanting to call CPS on you. When I was growing up, there was no laws. You could just beat the tarnation out of your child, apparently.
Yeah, way better.
But now, you have to be very careful legally, but from a biological standpoint, I think it should just be very slight, and the punishment should fit the crime.
The first thing that bugs me about this conversation that it always seems to be, oh, ha, 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 yeah, I got the smacking, ha, ha, ha. And it always ends up being a laughter that follows stories of people getting spanked. I was spanked. I had my mouth washed out with soap. I had my pants literally pulled down around my ankles and spanked in front of my friends. As a child, first of all, that embarrassment, it was hard to come back from. Very, very hard.
Trauma.
Not only that, but my relationship with my father completely suffered because of it. I resented him, I hated him, I feared him, and it was a long, I'm still...
No, bro, that's the role of a father. That's the role of a father to show you. Nici nu știu unde vreau să ajung cu ideea asta. În fața colegilor de școală.
Now that I'm in that position,
super,
and my child acts up, yeah, of course, we have to discipline them. But sending them to timeout, which they hate and despise, and then having that conversation of why did you go to timeout, and they understand and they repeat what they're not supposed to do, it works, and they don't do it again. And I think we can get the point across and discipline our children without abuse, without hitting, without
spanking. Is that abuse if I spank my kid?
Because that is a lasting impression on a child.
I think with the lasting impression, right, the physical pain is temporary, the mental pain is lifelong, forever. And I don't think that a child, and now adults, should have to live with that trauma for the rest of our lives just because our parents wanted to correct us in that one moment.
Yeah, bro, just... Cum ziceam, this guy was depicting actual trauma to me.
Honestly, I don't think spankings are really effective. Spare the rod, spoil the child. I come from parents that we had a huge leather belt, and now that I think about it, we'd always get told, oh, don't make me get the leather belt. And Dad did get the leather belt, but I never got hit with that belt. And it was more to invoke that fear, because I could never imagine my parents honestly hitting me. And I didn't have to get hit to mind or to respect them. But the moment that my parents were to hit me, I would lose respect for them, because I don't expect my parents to have to hit me. I don't think that's what parents should have to do. If you can't use your words to articulate to your children to respect you, we have a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yo, they're calling them out. They're like, bro, you can't make your daughter listen to you to not go up the letter, then you're the problem, my dude.
Did get physically spanked was by my grandpa's wife. I lived with her.
Yo, don't say that.
And blah blah blah, and she smacked
How
me.
Is that?
I smacked her back. You know, like, I wasn't gonna take that. I don't take that kind of disrespect. And like, I don't touch my kids like that. I don't feel like my little 4-year-old daughter,
Oh my God.
why does she need to be spanked? She's
Ce-mi
4.
place că tot dau camera pe el, cu aia. I mean, he seems kind of awkward at this point, mai ales că o zicea cu o mândrie. Oh, my daughter is, no, daddy, I don't want any... Stai cum zicea, I don't want any understanding, I don't want any understanding. Imaginează-ți cu aia să-ți bați copilul și în timp ce îl bați să zici, do you understand why I'm doing this? Mă doare pe mine mai mult decât te doare pe tine, fac asta pentru că te iubesc. Oh my God, bro.
My 6-year-old, he's still learning the world around him. He doesn't need that. That's abusive to me. No offense, but like, I just see it as abuse. Spanking absolutely was something I couldn't imagine even speaking of on camera for millions of people to see. And I don't see the point of abuse.
Everyone called him out. They were like, yeah, bro, you're abusing your child. You're abusing your child, bro.
As little as 6.
I actually hope he's considering everything he heard.
Children that, you know, are going to grow up and think that that's how you discipline and that's how you get people to hear what you're saying.
Yes, exact. Cum ziceau ăștia, I've been spanked and I turned out just fine.
Mental scars when it's used in the wrong scenario. So we were talking about that earlier. If you're spanking your kid every single day, you should change your parenting, but you only use it when it's a terrible behavior that needs to stop. Like when I was little, okay, I used to shoplift, okay? I would get away with it. I thought you could just take a candy bar and then leave, but after like my parents found these like chocolate bars that they weren't paying for, they spanked me, and as they should, because if they hadn't spanked me, they just said, honey, don't do this. I would have kept doing it.
If they just said, don't do that shit, you might have just stopped or took something away from you or used different effective ways.
The thing is,
taking things away from my son, like me smacking my son's 14 years old, who's bigger than me, stronger than me emasculizing my son, and smacking him as a woman, and telling him he's doing
Bro, okay, I don't know how to feel about Ro. Am aflat că o cheamă Ro. 1 hour into the movie. Unele puncte, gen majoritatea punctelor pe care le ziceam, like, girl, preach, oh my God, you're queen. Și după aia vine și zice căcaturi de-astea. I'm like, oh my God, bro, what do you mean emasculating my son if I hit him as a woman? What the
Nothing
fuck?
wrong. That's wild. That's not going to be effective at all. No, hey, let's talk about this. You're going to get the Xbox taken away. I'm not going to take you to this AAU practice that we're spending $400 on. We're going to do something that's going to be really effective that you actually are going to remember. Because hitting, after a while, that shit don't mean nothing. All right, keep on hitting me. Keep on hitting me.
That's my middle brother.
I agree with that being, at
only
15 being
extreme
6'7". You know what I mean? So, my
But
mom
when you're
was
12.
like, my mom was like your height. So I think to kind of go off what you were saying, the laughter part. We're not laughing because of the spanking. It's more so, and I hope this makes sense, it's laughing because of the experience of love in the discipline that I experienced with my.
Nu știu cu aia, n-am nimic, îmi pare rău, nu. Ar trebui să zic ceva, nu știu, e ce ziceam mai devreme. Te lovesc, fac asta pentru că te iubesc, mă doare pe mine mai mult decât te doare pe tine, căcaturi de-astea.
Daughter, and the fact that she now understands, and I know that she won't make that same mistake again. Now, to what you were saying, after spanking her, I don't even remember last time I've spanked my daughter, because now, even with my 2-year-old, when they're acting up or doing something or screaming or going crazy, and I'm like, hey guys, stop, and they're still going, I'll get the belt and I'll just jingle, okay, Dad, we're sitting down. And I'm like, oh, so you guys are good? Yeah, Dad, we're good. It's like, I don't have to.
It's a response to stimuli. They're absolutely like, oh shit, we don't want to get hit.
We don't want to get hit, but also it's a respect thing. Like, that's my father. He's in there, trying to work on the computer or something. We are screaming too loud.
It's the job of the parent to make sure the child can come to them for anything and everything and overall love. Why would you teach a child that person would hit them? That's it.
Este același motiv pentru care nu-mi lovesc câinele cu mâna. Am fost învățat de alți oameni și de dresori și de oameni care se pricep cu câinii și cu whatever din același motiv. Nu poți să-ți lovești câinele cu mâna, gen cu același, nu poți să lovești câinele cu aceeași mână, bine, cu aceeași mână, că, gen, da, lovești câinele cu ceva extern, gen trebuie să existe o chestie care știe că, hei, dacă asta se întâmplă e de rău și am făcut ceva rău, dar nu poți să-l lovești cu mâna cu care îl mângâi, nu poți să, gen, să mângâi câinele și după aia să te superi și să-l lovești, gen, trebuie să-i oferi înțelegerea, la fel și la copii, și ori urât din partea mea că compar copiii cu câinii. Trebuie să le oferi înțelegerea că nu e normal ca cineva care ar trebui să fie your safe space să te bată, în pula mea. Mai ales dacă e pentru ceva care putea să fie evitat, I guess.
The sexuality of parents influences their kids' sexuality.
Am discutat mult pe parcurs, pentru că am deschis mereu subiectul ăsta. I don't think it does. Cred că singurul motiv prin care în ziua de azi există mai mulți homosexuali în ghilimele e pentru că se simt mult mai confortabil să come out. And that's about it. Bro, ok, ce surpriză. Ce surpriză, bro. Nu m-aș fi mirat să fie ăștia care stau în față.
Talking about sexuality as in just, you know,
da, a venit și s-a răzgândit și el a zis, hai bine.
Openly, like, I hope I'm wording this the right way, promiscuous or your behaviors. I think it does.
Ok, sure. În sensul ăla, I agree. Adică dacă tu vezi că părinții tăi au un open relationship și whatever, poate te influențează și pe tine să fii mai deschis. Acum, din nou, asta se rezumă la ce consideri tu că este o moralitate corectă și o valoare corectă să îi oferi copilului tău. Și poate ai considera că e o problemă să fie într-un anumit fel. Dar, overall, adică dacă tu consideri că e o problemă să fii promiscu, sau cum se zice în română, sure, atunci e o problemă. Și sunt de acord că asta ar putea influența și copilul, dacă vede pe părinții lui că sunt șoar pe swingareală sau pe gangbang-uri sau whatever, ce vreți voi. Atunci ar zice copilul, da, asta e normalitatea, o să fac și asta când cresc, vreau un open relationship, vreau whatever. Acum, e asta ceva de rău? Nu neapărat. Depinde de ce moralități și de ce valori ai. Influențează cum e crescut și în ce environment e crescut? Sure, I can agree. În sensul ăla. În sensul ăla de gen, hei, asta nu știu ce. Dar nu cred că un copil care nu e homosexual devine homosexual doar pentru că e crescut de doi homosexuali. Nu cred.
A lot of things that I do, my kids do. A lot of things that my wife do, you know, they follow her. So I think if I was behaving in a certain way and, you know, treating my wife a certain way in front of my daughters and my son, you know, I think it would affect the way that they treat themselves and the way they treat others. And
I agree.
Would look at sex as more as an object or just something to do more than a intimate
I agree.
thing that you have with one person that, you know, creates a real bond and a friendship.
The thing about childhood is that every kid has a normal one because there's no frame of reference. Everything's relative. So whatever you put into that child's life becomes their normal. Children that are from same-sex households, they have a higher chance of identifying as LGBTQ. And
show me data for that. Show me data for that, bro. I highly doubt it.
You could claim that this is because they're more accepting and more receptive to that. But I would say that I would point to the generations, that each generation as they got older, the amount of people, the percentage of people that identify as LGBTQ doubles each generation. And some of that can be because of acceptance of society, but I do not believe that it is pure acceptance. There is influence that's happening on our social media, happening in the media, but it starts at home, and there is influence in the home that when you see this as normal, it will of course influence your sexuality and how you view these things.
Da, pentru că să fii gay este o alegere.
Sexuality in the home should be a good role model for your children, should be constructive, it should be loving.
Also, even if that is true, bro, să zicem că e adevărat. Deși nu există niciun studiu care să dovedească asta și nu există, gen, cred că doar scoate din cur ceva așa. Să zicem că e adevărat și să zicem că din ce în ce mai mulți oameni se identifică ca LGBTQ, că așa e alegerea lor. Să zicem că e o alegere și că totul e ipotetică. Cum e asta o problemă? De ce e rău să fie LGBTQ? Cum e asta o problemă? De ce este o problemă că oamenii se identifică așa chiar dacă este alegerea lor, bro? Asta e tot argumentul meu.
Sexuality and sees it as toxic, they may just choose to go the other way.
That's it.
A lot of gay people have straight parents. A lot of gay parents produce straight kids.
Yes.
So, debunked.
Yes.
You cannot, if you're straight, that doesn't mean your child is straight. If you're gay, that doesn't mean your child is gay.
Yes.
I want to stand firm on the fact that sexuality is biological. It's not something you can choose. And if it's something you want to explore, that's different from choosing. Exploring is, oh, maybe I'll go see what it's like being with a woman. Oh, that didn't feel right because it's biological.
Yeah, so 2 points, one of which is something that you had said about them only knowing that there's 2 gay parents. And so they relate to that more.
Okay,
in my life, like, yes, there is 2 gay parents, but we also are surrounded by a lot of straight parents.
Și mai mult decât atât, majoritatea mediei, majoritatea social media, și televiziune, și ce vreți voi cu aia, muzică, whatever, majoritatea este heteronormativă.
And a lot of straight couples, and their friends come over to play, and they have a mom and a dad, and they come over. So them being only seeing this one thing and then thinking, oh, maybe I'm gay because that's the only thing I know, I don't believe in that.
I don't believe either.
Like, what is normal to them? Is it normal for them to have 2 dads? Of course, right? Yeah. Having a mom and a dad, is it normal?
But it's also normal to see other kids with their mom and dad too. I mean, they see it all the time.
Da, doar pentru că ai 2 tați nu înseamnă că consider că nu e normal să ai o mamă și un tată sau 2 mame în pula mea. Pur și simplu consider că toate 3 sunt o normalitate. Orice variantă e o normalitate. That's the entire point of it. What do you mean? Oh
and my second other was just the fact of a choice. I mean, you talked about it. It's definitely not a choice. If I had to choose way back when I was 15, 14, thinking, oh gosh, I'm gay, I would not choose. To have society constantly looking at me, judging me when I'm out to dinner with my 2 girls and people come up and go, you're doing such a good job. You don't do that to straight parents who are out with their kids. Like, why come up to me?
Yeah, you do.
So I would not have chosen to be gay if I had the choice. I am gay. I am happy.
Also, toată media heteronormativă care îți învață copilul că e ok să fie heteronormativ.
My life is amazing.
Am mai vorbit de atâtea ori cu ai pe stream-ul ăsta de cum faptul că dacă din 10 filme 3 dintre ele sunt cu homosexuali e o problemă, că gen prea mult inclusivity, prea mult nu știu ce, prea mult whatever. Că celelalte 7 sunt în continuare heteronormative.
I said they do compliment straight parents
especially
too.
being a black father, I get it all day long.
On the other side of things, I want to talk about the notion of what is normal influences what you are. I went to an all-boys school. I'll say this a million times. I went to an all-boys school until I was 15. I did not know what a girl was until I was 15. My parents are heterosexual. They're pretty conservative. They are Christian. Nothing in my environment was saying, you need to be a girl, you are queer, you are lesbian, right? That was just always within me, and nothing in my environment pushed me to do that. I think that is just one very clear example that your environment does not make you have a particular sexuality or gender. That is just within you.
Nu vreau să zic.
The way I was parented made me feel safe and seen.
Logic. You go, girl.
My parents already knew that they were getting into parenting miles behind other people because the world tells them they're going to be this kind of parent simply because they're gay. From what they've told me before I was born, before my brother was born, it was doing all kinds of research on what works for kids, how to raise a girl, what girl puberty is like, all of these things. They made sure that they were super educated so that the only reason the world could tell them they were a bad parent is because they were gay. And that means nothing. That comes down to
I'm happy for her.
And so I grew up feeling so safe, so supported. I came to my parents with any question and they always had the answer. And I always knew I could grow up being whatever I wanted to be.
I'm so happy for her.
Whether that was sexuality, whether that was career-wise, honestly, growing up with 2 dads was really beneficial as a woman because there was nothing impeding on, or there were no boundaries set on what a woman should be or what a woman should act like. It was, no, you go out and your brain is your...
Oh, wow, that's actually, oh my God, that's such a good take. Gen asta întoarce totul, gen toate argumentele pe care le-au dat ăștia de dreapta până acum sunt întoarse on its head din simplu fapt că, hey, faptul că eu nu am avut o femeie, oh my, that's such a smart thing to say, god damn. Faptul că eu nu am avut o mamă nu mi-a pus nicio limită pentru că eu nu am văzut ce înseamnă să fie o femeie, ceea ce înseamnă că eu mi-am făcut propriul meu drum ca femeie. That's fucking crazy. That's insane. Oh my, I'm so happy for her, man.
Biggest asset, and it's the most beautiful thing about you. Go out and do whatever you
This
want.
is so nice.
Women can do whatever men can do, and it was really great actually to not have a woman in the household that
Aw.
maybe would have
That's such a
derailed that.
That's such a, oh my god, chiar sunt curios care ar putea să fie argumentul unui de ăsta de dreapta, chiar sunt curios care ar putea să fie argumentul ăla care au rămas în spate la asta, fix la chestia asta, doamne, o să folosesc argumentul ăsta de acum încolo la discuțiile astea, that's such a good take.
I half agree. I would say I felt safe. I did not particularly feel seen. My parents don't know what being trans is. They don't really understand what being gay was. When I came out to them, they were like, we don't really know what this is, but we love you. And that's what made me feel safe. Even if they don't particularly see me, they came to see me. And at the end of the day, if they say, I love you and you're welcome here, that's what matters.
Nice.
So for me to be met
Nice.
with love from conservative values was pretty shocking because I just have so much experience of observing media where Christians are always paired with anti-LGBT rhetoric, and conservatism is not compatible with this. But in my own personal life, I've seen the two be completely compatible.
Dacă ai întreba un ăsta de dreapta, un conservator, trebuie neapărat să aflu cum se zice cu aia. Dacă ai întreba un conservatist dacă părinții ei sunt conservatiști, ar zice nu, sunt probabil centrist, pentru că pentru ei nu e de acceptat ca cineva care e de genul ăsta de behavior.
You can be conservative and you can be queer, you can be Christian and you can support LGBT people. And that's something I didn't really think was possible, but my parents proved me wrong in that way.
Nice, I'm happy.
I feel like I grew up with the best parents in the world. They did everything that they could to make me the best person I am today. And there were a lot of times growing up that we were going through really difficult times, but they shielded us from that. There were times that the lights turned off or the heat turned off. And as kids, we don't know what's going on. We just ask, hey, what's going on? Oh, you know, your mom forgot to pay the bill. And all these things were hidden from us until we were way older and we look back at those things and we realized, no, that she didn't forget to pay the bill, or we left the tags on not because they wanted us to choose a different shirt later on. It was because there was serious stuff going on in my family, but they shielded us from that so that we could be kids. And my father,
that's normal.
Took me out hunting, took me to my sports, taught me what it was like and how to be a man, how to be a good man, how to treat women. And conversely, my mom taught me how to nurture women and the things that a mother teaches a young son. And I feel like I had the best parents, the best experience. And
good. I'm happy for you.
I can't think of something better. Can't think of anything better.
I'm happy.
Probably one of the most soft-spoken individuals I've ever met in my entire life, but I remember instances of feeling safe because I would see him literally snap to dad protection mode when it came to, you know, anyone trying to harm us or my mother or anything like that. And as far as being seen, my parents, they like all of our parents, they had the expectations we talked about us being successful in our career, but I had so many wants and desires from being a teenager, like wanting to be, I want to be a magician, I want to be a skateboarder. Who was buying me magician kits? Who was buying me skateboards? Like, I had the most supportive, and I guess you can use the word seeing parents that you could ever ask for. And, you know, I owe them everything that I am today. The person that I am today is because of them.
My parents didn't agree with my lifestyle. I came out super, super early. I came out like around 12. And my parents are pastors. But my mom always saw me. And when I asked to dress like a boy in like 5th grade, my dad was super resistant because he kind of knew, because you know when your kids are gay early on, you just know. And I think inherently they knew I was gonna be gay, and my dad was not getting jiggy with it, and my mom was like, let her be her, she'll figure it out. And I lost my dad about 3 months ago. Parents were married 50 years, same household, the best people. I'll give you a run for your money because my parents were pretty great too. In this last birthday, my parents sent me a card, and it was the first time they've ever said anything like this to me, which is like, we accept you. We unapologetically accept you, and we love you. And that meant more to me than anything in the world, because I'm 36 years old, and finally my mom and dad, and I needed that. And for people that are hearing this, yeah, your kids, no matter how old they get, they need to hear that their parents accept them and validate them. It's important. It does make you feel good.
Iar vine să plâng.
Yeah, my parents are pretty awesome.
I'm so happy for them, man. Pentru toate poveștile astea, I'm happy for them.
Problem. My dad is super supportive. You know, he was invited to my wedding. He walked me down my aisle.
Cute. But my mom, though.
My mom wasn't invited.
I know how that feels.
My mom didn't get to do, you know, the normal bridal stuff because she did not agree with my lifestyle. But this is by far the happiest that I've ever been, the most headstrong that I have been. And if she can't support that, then I don't want her in my life. And a lot of my family and friends have been kind of like, finally, you finally cut her out. And so, you know, it hurts sometimes, but like also I'm protecting my kids from that exposure, that hatred, that acceptance that she doesn't have for me. My kids don't need that. It's 2022. My kids are the next generation. I want them to know nothing but acceptance, loving, caring people. That's it.
Growing up, you know, I think it was kind of the same way. You know, they didn't tell me a lot in order to protect what I would think about situations. And my dad and I, you know, I've kind of talked about that a little bit, but, you know, we didn't have a good relationship just because, you know, we did not connect on any kind of level. But
mi-am dat seama că n-am mai zis nimic de mult timp, dar gen, nu prea am ce să zic la asta, sunt doar poveștile lor, bro. Nu, ce am eu de zis despre poveștile lor, știi ce zic?
Mom and I really,
I'm just happy for them, mă rog, sau...
And I felt safe with her up until I came out to her. And it was such a bummer moment because we had such a strong relationship and I felt her just pull away from me when that happened. And it hurt me, and we didn't talk for a little while, and she said she supported me, but her words were not matching with her actions. And especially the past couple years with what's been going on in the world and politics and all of that, it seems like we're even getting further and further apart. And it's
deci votează pentru Trump, am înțeles.
And you know, I want to go back to when I was 10 and rekindle that relationship. And now that I have a family and kids, and my family is just so important to me.
She's crying.
That if she doesn't want to be on board, and if she doesn't believe in the beliefs that I have, you know, like I'm not going to go out of my way to try to convince you if you're already set in your ways.
Yeah, I agree.
And
it takes two, mai ales de la un punct încolo.
That has to happen.
Yeah. Brittany. I see you, girl. Yeah, like I said before, I didn't have a safe relationship with my mom or my dad. So I did seek some good modeling. I saw some good modeling with my friends and their families. And actually, the first time I ever saw somebody say I love you was at a friend's house in like 6th or 7th grade. And I saw her mom say I love you. And I thought, what? They say I love you? And then she would sit on her mom's lap and they would hold hands, and I thought, oh my God.
It's weird, huh?
What are you doing? I thought it was so bizarre. Okay, I have the opposite relationship with my daughter. We're very loving, very open, very tender. But honestly, you know, and the relationship I told you is mended with my parents. But honestly, they're still broken. Everybody's still broken. We're all broken. What mended me the most was, I'll say it again, is having the relationship with my true father. That's what mended me the most out of anything that's ever happened. And I've gone to therapy, I've gone to psychics, I've gone to everybody, and I've done everything you can possibly think of to heal from the traumas, and nothing healed me like the relationship with Jesus that I have. And that love and that security.
Coaie, când a zis my relationship with my true father, credeam că se referă la tatăl ei biologic, a fost adoptată sau ceva, nu știu la ce. Jesus! Oh my God, bro. If it works for her, sure. Yeah, kind of, I guess, sure. Dacă nu e la ce mă așteptam, gen chiar nu e la ce mă așteptam, mă gândeam la cu totul altceva.
100%. Anybody can throw a stick and a stone at me. None of it matters when you know who you belong to. And so that's what I have conveyed now to my child.
Știi, uite, în sfârșit am găsit că tot nu mai zic nimic de mult, măcar acum am găsit. Știi care e chestia? Nu doar cu religia, dar cred că religia e cel mai ușor de explicat cu chestia asta și sunt curios dacă și Nothing e de acord cu chestia asta. Cred că relația cu religia / Dumnezeu / whatever poate să fie toxică câteodată în ideea în care te legi atât de mult și de înrădăcinat de chestia asta încât devine singura ta personalitate, devine singura chestie chestie pe care știi. Și sure, pot să înțeleg, I don't know, e cu duș și întors, că gen, pot să înțeleg că dacă asta, cum ai zis tu, că if it works for her, sure. Dacă asta merge pentru ea și dacă asta îi dă motivație și dacă asta îi dă liniște și dacă asta îi dă libertate și whatever, sure, I get it, dar mi se pare că creezi așa, gen, dai atât de multă putere unei singure chestii și nu mă refer că am eu ceva cu religia și că nu sunt credincios și whatever, e ca și cum ai face asta cu orice, mea mea. Doar că ăsta e un alt exemplu și mi se pare că double standards-urile sunt de ambele părți. Mi se pare că sunt double standards de la oameni care sunt anti-religie și zic, vai Doamne, nu pot să cred că dai atât de multă putere religiei sau credinței sau whatever. Ceea ce nu cred. Pentru mine nu asta e problema. Nu cred că problema e că dă atât de multă putere credinței. Cred că problema în ochii mei e că dă atât de multă putere unui singur lucru. Adică asta e ce mă deranjează. Mi se pare că dă prea multă putere unui singur lucru, care oricum în perspectiva mea nu e real. Dar și dacă ar fi real, dacă ai da prea multă putere, gen cum sunt aia care zice, vai Doamne, nu pot să fiu funcțional fără cafea dimineața. Zic, ok, bro, cred că exagerezi un pic, să fiu sincer. Ok, e o comparație unfair. Dar ca idee, gen, e pe același sistem, știi ce zic?
Child, that no matter what is on the outside, no matter how much pain each of our families brings to us or our external circumstances bring to us, none of it's going to shake us.
Da. Dumnezeu nu-ți dă mai mult decât poți duce, bro.
Who we are.
It's kind of hard because I don't know what it's like to be a single black mother, you know, and the struggles that come from it. You know, my dad, I have a good relationship with him. The blessing that I have of not being seen and not feeling loved is that I got to watch. So being alone, you know, the only child, being alone, I got to see certain behaviors and, you know, I have relatives that do drugs. I'm 33, I've never smoked or drank a day in my life. You know, I've never done, you know, a lot of things. And it's because God put a hedge around me and a protection around me to be able to watch. I understood at a very young age what love was because I wasn't getting love. So I knew when I had my children, I knew exactly what to do. I understand that, you know, there's mental health, there's trauma, there's a lot of things that are out there that people, you know, suffer with.
Not me, though.
How do you not know how to love your child? It's especially as a black...
That's actually such a good take. Cred că e primul lucru pe care l-a zis, care sunt ok, I see it. Ok, that's kind of fucked up, dar așa gândesc și eu, mai ales despre părinții mei. Gen, înțeleg că toată lumea îmi zice, nu, că sunt și ei oameni, nu, că trebuie să te gândești că au avut și ei traumele lor și experiențele lor. I'm like, yeah, but how, cum a zis ăsta, how do you not know how to love your child? Indiferent de cât, știi ce zic?
Man, okay. Being a father, real quick, one time me and my daughter, we were at a restaurant and I was getting her some food and this black guy is sitting at the table and he's like watching me and my daughter and I'm like, you know, protection mode, like, why are you staring at my daughter and she's wearing this dress? You know, I'm just like freaking out, right? So I pay for the food, turn around, he's behind me. And he's like, I just want to tell you thank you. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, dude, I've been sitting here for 3 hours waiting for my baby mom to bring my daughter here. I haven't seen her in months. And he was like, and then he, like a tear came down. He's like, I finally got to see what I want. So,
okay, that's a humble brag.
Not have that. Okay, my mom, she did the best she could. I love my mother. Haven't spoke to my mom in 3 years. My wife hasn't spoke to her family in 6. And it's because of the protection and the love that we have in our home that it's like, hey, you're not going to come to my house and talk about my daughter because she has mixed hair and you want me to put a perm in her hair because you don't like how curly it is. No, you can go. I don't care if I never see you again. It's about my family. So the cutting off, I'm 100% with you. But the not being seen and not having that love, the providing was there, but just not having that love, I feel like I took it in as kind of a blessing because now I get to love my
Lucky
kids.
you, I guess.
Like,
I didn't take it as a blessing.
Good job, everybody.
Honestly, such a good video.